English, 4 Scots and 1 Welshman and a Northern Irishman took a 46-day boat trip to New Zealand before heading to Australia. The Lions weren't alone on the boat. Also on board were 300 stoats and weasels, who were brought over to eliminate New Zealand's rabbit problem. The first ever Lions captain, Robert Seddon, died of drowning midway through the tour while sculling on a river. Andrew Stoddart, who was another of the cricketers there, took over and was the star of the tour. The next one was the first to get official recognition from the RFU against the newly formed Springboks. Although the Lions won the series and beat the Boks again 5 years later, in the 12 series since in South Africa, they've only won 2. New Zealand has proved an even tougher hunting ground, just the 1 series win for the Lions in 11 attempts, which came in 1971. And then there was that nail-shredding drawn series in 2017, only the second in Lions history. Only once have the Lions clinched a series after losing the first test, 1989, when David Campese's infamous ghost pass was pounced upon by Ian Evans. Before World War II, the Lions had a dark blue strip, which on the 1930 tour forced the All Blacks to play in all white. So in 1950, the iconic red shirts, white shorts and blue and green socks combination was born. It remains the symbol of the greatest alliance of adversaries in all of sport. To borrow the phrase from Jim Telfer, the Lions is Everest.
Good morning, this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me it is the former Chelsea and Republic of Ireland striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Wow, what a day we had yesterday, Cass, no less, at the G-Tech. We'll come to that later. But Spurs stunned Manchester City. It was live on talkSPORT.
This should be 2-0. Polinia, it is 2-0. It's terrible from Trafford. It's a meltdown from Manchester City, and Tottenham Hotspur take full advantage.
Yeah, we'll look back on that stunning result at the Etihad. Could Spurs surprise a few this season? Villa's difficult start to this season continues as they were defeated 1-0 at Brentford.
It's Keith Andrews' first ever win as Brentford manager, and you can't say really they haven't worked hard for it. Villa just didn't do enough to try and win the game.
Yeah, Cass and I were at the G-Tech, and we will discuss what we made of that game later on. There's also a load of cracking games in the Premier League to look forward to today, including what's being dubbed as El Clasico. Not Classico, Clasico. As Crystal Palace take on Nottingham Forest, the Forest boss, Nuno Espirito Santo, is expecting a spicy occasion at Selhurst Park.
What happened, I think it's not us to blame. But I expect on Sunday, with all the respect, it's going to be a tough atmosphere.
Yeah, we'll get stuck into all of the weekend's action, whether it's results or looking ahead to what is to come from the Premier League and the EFL as well. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. So, Cass, how are you?
Yes, recovered, got home safely last night. A journey from Brentford back to South London.
Yes.
Doesn't sound too bad. I mean, look, loads of fans travel all over the country.
Yeah, I mean, it was not as far as many.
It's not that bad, but there was no trains, no overground trains from out of Brentford yesterday. But that's, yeah, I know we're going to talk Brentford later, but we'll say one quick thing, and I'll explain a bit more later. But there's no way Brentford are going down.
Yeah, many are tipping them to go down.
No
Interesting
chance.
You think that from one game that you've seen.
It's one game, it's no chance. And I'll talk a lot about that, what I witnessed and what we witnessed yesterday and where Brentford are.
Okay.
So, yeah, no chance.
Well, that is to come. Right now, though, let's get into it. And it was a fabulous Saturday in the Premier League. This is how you heard it on talkSPORT.
Oh, Richarlison's away. He is down the right-hand side, a long ball, and he's got Johnson in the centre. He's going to give it to Johnson, who arrives and smashes it beyond the goalkeeper. The offside flag is up, though, but they have given the goal because it was onside. Just and Tottenham lead at Manchester City once again. Oh, given away stupidly by Trafford. Here's Richarlison. This should be 2-0. Polinia, it is 2-0. It's terrible from Trafford. It's a meltdown from Manchester City.
Well, he's looked nervy, hasn't he, right from the start of the game. James Trafford, he didn't get away with this one. It's awful.
Well, everybody was laughing at Spurs this week. They ain't laughing now.
And it's Bournemouth 1, Wolves 0. Marcus Tavernier with a goal after only 4 minutes. It's Brentford 1, Aston Villa 0. Dango Ouattara on his debut.
Great start for Brentford. Aston Villa really in trouble.
Burnley have sealed it here at Turf Moor. Burnley 2, Sunderland 0, and it's Jadon Anthony. This place is rocking.
Up steps Gyökeres and slams it into the bottom left-hand corner. A ferocious penalty from the Arsenal frontman. He has 2 now for his Arsenal account since moving in the summer. Arsenal 2 from 2. Leeds, where do they go from here? It's Arsenal 5, Leeds 0.
Yeah, so it was eventful and loads for us to get stuck into. And we're going to start with our talkSPORT exclusive yesterday lunchtime as Spurs made it back-to-back Premier League victories under new manager Thomas Frank. Stunning Manchester City once again at the Etihad with what turned out to be a 2-0 win. They just seem to have something over City when it comes to playing them, as of recent history suggests. Spurs getting yet another victory. And I know you really want to talk about James Trafford, but just in general, what did you make of Spurs' performance?
Dynamic, driven to stop City playing on every opportunity, high pressing, loads of energy in all different areas. There was clearly an indication from the manager that we're going after City and going to try and get them high up the pitch and try and rob the ball off them. Quite a brave style, but one that's worked before with other teams. If you're going to overplay, you're going to confront. There's a great photo in the Times, and it's the goal that obviously Trafford, when he tries to do the pass, make the pass out of his own 18-yard box. There's 2 City players in the penalty area and 3 Spurs players. I don't want to sound like rocket science, but maybe it's not a good idea when you're outnumbered in your own penalty area to try and play out from the back. But yeah, dynamic Spurs were, always cause problems to City. And this, I mean, Pepe Sarr has come on a bundle. I mean, I thought the transfer of Paulinho was always a great one if he could play, because I thought that what he did at Fulham and why Bayern Munich, if you get that player for Spurs, you've got one hell of a midfielder there. But it's also the adjustment of the team from playing Brennan Johnson on the opposite side to on the left, which he's already got back-to-back goals. I thought defensively Spurs looked better. And they were the better side. And they knew what to do against City. City were a fabulous team. But if you allow them to play in certain areas, they'll punish you. If you can get the ball off them high up, which that's a lot of hard work and hard pressing to get that right. And Spurs got it totally right yesterday.
Well, let's focus on that second goal in particular that you mentioned there with James Trafford trying to play out from the back, and it didn't work out at all. And as a result, Spurs scored from it with that João Paulinho goal. This is what Pep had to say after the game on his keeper, then James Trafford.
He made a good first game, James, and I'm going to decide to make another continue. So when I take a decisions, normally in the first part of the season, not just for the keeper. Keeper is a special position, of course, to have more consistency in the goal. But for all the players, when you play 1 or 2 games, and everybody think, okay, this is the start line now, this is the players going to play. And I learned for many years that this amount of games, everybody will play it. It will be important. Just today, I decide that.
Ederson was on the bench for this one, Cass. I know there's suggestions he could be moving on. Galatasaray, a team he's been heavily linked with. But when you have a moment like that, and it was a bit of a jittery performance from James Trafford, is this a time where he's going to have to sit down and really think about who he has to have as his number one, certainly for the next few games, whether or not we see what happens with Ederson going forward, especially, they've got, Brighton to come, Man United, Arsenal, all within the next 3 games in the Premier League. Or does he have to stick with James Trafford now that he's gone with him?
Well, I get frustrated because you always get accused when you talk about goalkeepers playing out for the back as if the modern game and the numbers tell us, the data, the metrics of all this is that it's the right thing to do. And I get it to a degree, but when it's totally not on, and that was a clear indication yesterday by James Trafford, do not play the ball to Gonzalez with his back to the play and he's getting pressed by Pahina, okay? That in itself is an alarm bell. To allow that to happen, I think Pep... Look, Ederson kicked the ball a lot long. He does. He's always done it, but he will play if it's on. And I understand that. James Trafford's a young goalkeeper. He's still, 22, 23 max?
Yeah, very young.
Still very, very young. And he had a fabulous season last year, and he's come into the team. I just felt it was so obvious from the get-go that Tottenham were going to... It felt like Tottenham knew... By the way, the conversation probably all week would have been, when James Trafford gets the ball, they're going to try and overplay. He's going to try and play these intricate passes, be on top of them. Make sure you're closing them down and we'll rob them of the ball once in the game.
And that's the interesting point that you make there, that... Look, we understand there's a style of play that a lot of managers want to play, and we can go back to last season, Russell Martin, and he's still doing it at Rangers, and he's very clear that this is how he's going to set up his team and this is how his teams are going to play. But we talked about it before we came on air, saying that sometimes it'd be good if a manager just comes out and says, yes, this is how I want us to play, but we can't always play like that. Sometimes we can't take the risk, and the safer option is to boot it out. Now, Gianluigi Donnarumma is still being linked with Manchester City. Is that someone that they should be considering? Or, going back onto the James Trafford scenario, that he is still a young player, so he's got time time to learn, time to grow. But do City have the time to give him that at this present moment?
You can't go and spend 40-odd million and then go, well, after 2 games, well, maybe...
No, I agree with you.
You can't do that. You buy him, you trust in the process.
Yeah.
But also... He has to understand, and by you, the manager, have to give him the allowance to say, look, if it's not on, this is really basic. If it's not on, don't do it. You have to make the call when you're a goalkeeper, if it's on or not.
And especially when you know Spurs have already caused you problems. They are pressing you high.
It was so obvious.
Yeah.
It was so to me, I would point the finger at Pep as well. And saying, Pep, I understand you have your way of playing, and it's been brilliantly successful for you. But if today's game, the opposition are going to you, we know what you're going to do, and we're going to try and stop that, and we're going to be all over you. We're going to smother you. We're going to suffocate you. That's what Spurs did, and that's what you have to do against City. But don't get me wrong, that's easier said than done. It's still really difficult for Spurs to get that absolute spot on. Yes, they did, and it's cost Man City 3 points yesterday, or say 1 point, because Spurs could have easily got a draw. And before I forget, Vicario done a thing at 2-0 as well. Vicario in goal. He tried to play a pass that wasn't on to Van der Ven that nearly made it 2-1. Again, that is... And Thomas Frank will probably say similar things because he does adapt slightly to when it's not on and when it is on.
Yeah.
I have no problem teams playing out from the back. If it's there to be done, great. If it's not, don't do it. Because yesterday was the consequence. Like I said in the photo now, you've got 3 Spurs players in the 18-yard box. You've got 2 City players. Yeah, and you want to... What you're doing, keep ball in the 18-yard box? What's that about?
You're putting unnecessary pressure and risk on yourself.
Unnecessary... the ball's ended up in your back of your net.
Yeah.
And James Trafford... I'm not questioning his goalkeeper. He's clearly a decent goalkeeper. But you have to go as a manager to say to him, look, I trust that you're going to have to make your call sometimes. You know, over a course of the season, that might be his only time he's made a mistake. Let's hope it is for him. But if you do this regular, he'll end up being taken out the firing line. You know, you'll get dropped.
2 wins out of 2 then for Tottenham. They are a little bit of a bogey side for Pep Guardiola, certainly. It's they've lost 10 games now against Spurs, which is a joint high for Pep Guardiola, which he has also suffered against Real Madrid and Liverpool too. So Spurs in good company there. And as for Thomas Frank, he becomes just the 3rd manager to win an away league match against Pep with 2 different clubs, because he did it with Brentford back in 2020.
Clearly, he knows how to go about taking on City.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean he's going to win every time, but what he's saying is, we've got a chance of getting a result.
Do you know what? Very quickly, the first goal There was an element of that. And I was at the game where we won at City, and it was a similar thing of playing balls over the top, and that was the first goal that caused them problems. And Pep, I remember saying, especially when we had Ivan Toney, the physicality of Ivan Toney caused us issues, and balls over the top you just weren't prepared for. So clearly Thomas Frank knows how to get a good result against them. It means they are joint top, Cass. It's a North London...
Yes, I saw,
top of the table as things stand. Obviously, Liverpool still to play this match week. But are Tottenham a contender, do you think, already at this early stage?
What, for the title?
Just to be in the mix. I'm not saying contender, but in terms of being in this top...
We have to be careful. Postecoglou had an amazing start at Tottenham, and they were flying. But what I do see is Tottenham, there is a different dynamic that will enable them to be far more a team competing for the Champions League spots. And that in itself is a testament to the appointment of Thomas Frank, because he's a manager that will adapt to different types of play, and he's got a better calibre of player at Spurs, as they should do, than Brentford. That is for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think he will prove a lot of people, not say wrong, because I think a lot of people know in the game that Thomas is a very accomplished manager.
Yeah.
And we saw that yesterday.
Still painful to hear him say he's falling in love with Spurs, but hey-ho, we move on because it's all about the Keith Andrews Red and White Army, and the new Brentford boss got his first win yesterday. We're going to reflect upon that victory over Aston Villa next.
This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans. Yes! Oh! Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
He is an unlocker of defences. That.
If you've got a problem or something to say, you don't have the right to say anything about something. I do.
This nonsense kills the game.
morning. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talkSPORT. It is the former Aston Villa striker Tony Cascarino who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. And there's a story very quickly, Cass, that we spotted in the Daily Star this morning with the headline of Save Our Ales as beer campaigners fear our unique cask ales could die out with European lager giants closing some of these iconic breweries. Banks's of Wolverhampton is set to be the latest axed by Carlsberg, for example, with the Danish Pilsner Superpower. Also closing Oxfordshire's, I don't know how you say it, a brewery in Oxfordshire, let's just say that, as well as the Ringwood Brewery in the New Forest. Dutch lager giant Heineken is set to end more than 150 years of beer making at Scotland's Caledonian Brewery. So obviously, not great. What if you like your ales, but also just for the sort of
tradition.
Exactly. You're talking, as I said there, 150 years.
Yeah.
Of a business, of a, to a degree of a business that has provided something for the local community and beyond as well.
Yeah, well, things have changed with drinking, hasn't it? I mean, also we're in a stage. Was it 8 pubs a week are closing, which is scary. But the younger generation drink differently from them when I was 20s. That they and the affordability for them. So drink is very expensive now, and there is this an idea that a lot of people know the consequences of alcohol, so they are taking, and people in their 50s are now looking and going, well, maybe less alcohol, but, for having a healthy into your 50s and 60s. And, there is many different dynamics to it.
But I suppose, this is where
I still have a odd drink. I'm not a drinker, but I love having an odd drink. I don't go, I want to go to the pub all the time.
No, I'm the same as you. Yeah. I'm the same as you. But I think that's probably where pubs do have to adapt. That's why we see a lot of pubs now with more restaurants, and they probably do have to put on more events like your pub quizzes and things like that. It doesn't have to be about drinking.
No.
But it can be a social place where you come together.
Yeah. It's definitely, that's the best part of it.
Yeah, that's what you want to still have, certainly. You say you don't drink, but you certainly enjoyed some champagne yesterday at the GTEC Community Stadium.
I had no ales.
You had no ales, but you did have some champagne and some wine with me. And
your club's come a long way, hasn't it? You used to have 4. It is Brentford who's had 4 pubs on every corner, didn't they?
Yes, Griffin Park had. Yeah, that was the quiz question.
Yeah.
But yes, we went to the Brentford Aston Villa game yesterday, and it's fair to say it's been a bit of a difficult start for your former club.
Yeah, I thought they were poor yesterday. Well, the stats can be misleading because it's saying, in the paper that Villa had 76% possession.
Yeah.
I didn't think they offered much, and a lot of it flat to deceive, really. Villa didn't look a good side yesterday. They looked like Ollie Watkins was sort of starved of service. Ollie didn't make much of an impact in the game at all. I was disappointed in just really the way that Villa played. They looked quite a narrow team. They had no width. Obviously, Leon Bailey's gone now as well. And they just looked like they had Morgan Rogers and Buendia came on. They were very much through the middle of Brentford. Brentford, no problem. I thought they were so comfortable yesterday.
Yeah.
Kelleher made one big save with his feet, didn't he?
In the first half. Villa had 2 shots on target throughout the entire game, yet to score a goal in this early part of this season. And you're right. I think a lot of people came away thinking, all huff and no puff, really, with Aston Villa. And I'm not even sure you can say they huffed that much.
Well, take someone like John McGinn, who's a fine player. And what's John now? 30. And he's done a great job since he's been at Villa. And I think he felt like he couldn't quite make an impact in the game as well. So a lot of their main players, Watkins couldn't make an impact. Morgan Rogers was frustrated again, not really got going yesterday. Then you got John McGinn. These are all leading players for Villa.
Yeah.
I thought Brentford, Damsgaard, best player on the pitch. He's the most unlikely looking footballer you'll ever see. His body's like as of a Tour de France cyclist. But boy, his skill is phenomenal, and his ability to find a pass. Then you had the running power of the team. I came away thinking, there's no way. Jordan Henderson in midfield, his experience stood out of just getting the ball, doing the simple things. He had legs all around the side in Brentford, and I thought Keith Andrews made the substitutions right. I thought the goalkeeper, Kelleher, who I thought was a steal for 18 million. I still can't believe Liverpool sold him for 18 million. I thought he's going to be a steal for Brentford. You've got your fullbacks, Rico Emery coming back. You've also got Aaron Hickey. There's lots. Brentford won't be in trouble because there's no ego in Brentford. There isn't that player that you think, I might want, it just feels they're a real tight unit.
Well, let's quickly hear from the head coach, Keith Andrews, then, who spoke to talkSPORT afterwards after picking up that first win.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. Probably hasn't sunk in yet because I've been so focused, and I always am focused on the team, really. I got asked what my individual goals were for the season. It's not really about me as an individual. It's about the team and gaining confidence in what we're doing, and ultimately how you do that is getting results. Pre-season went pretty well considering some of the issues that we had behind the scenes and all the changes that we've had to navigate. But I am immensely proud. But I go back to it's the group. It's the game's always about players and fans. Ultimately, I'm big on that. I always have been because I was a fan. I am a fan myself. But I am immensely proud of where this team has come in the space of a week, really, and how they've had to deal with some outside noise and the character they've shown today, which represents us.
And you know what? He's right to mention the outside noise. Forget the Johan Wissa situation, but just go back to last weekend when they were hammered by Forest, and that first half in particular was an embarrassment and disappointing. But to come back and put in a performance like they did, which was a varied performance. First half, I thought they were very in control, Brentford. Looked threatening every time they went ahead. Second half, sort of sat back a little bit, but soaked up the pressure really, really well. And it was just a hard-working performance, but a performance they needed after what happened at the City Ground last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't mention one player, but Rico Henry's come back in, but the boy Lewis Potter.
Oh, Keane's fantastic.
He just wants the ball. He gets the ball on his left foot. He'll cut inside and he'll also slip balls down the line. He's got great energy up and down the left side. Him and Rico Emery, if Rico's back to his best, you've got two really good left backs. That's just in that position.
And Hickey can play left back too.
Yeah, so I just didn't see. I can't come away from this is a bit of a myth about Brentford. They could struggle because there is nothing I saw yesterday but a really solid outfit that, getting in Montero, who adds a bit more pace, dynamism. You've just got a lot of that all over the pitch. Sharda's always a problem because he always wants to.
What do you think of Igor Thiago?
I think he's going to get better. Yeah. I think he's not played for a long time. You could see that. And I thought there was little glimpses of what he's capable of. I thought he led the line. Hard. Yeah, worked hard, led the line to a degree. He's not quick, but he's not slow. He's got a little bit about him. I think he'll improve.
And had a flick on, obviously, for the goal.
The goal, yeah. That goal, Montero, once he got through, he was literally gone, wasn't he? And he gets a little bit fortunate, but he finished it well. And you've got the manager with the best hairdo. He's a shampoo and set man, isn't he? Keith Andrews. What a hairdo.
What a head of hair. Something about Brentford, because Thomas Frank doesn't have a bad hair either.
I thought they were really good yesterday. And like I said, there's no way I would see them as candidates for getting relegated. I know it's one game and people might go, you can't make that assumption. There's many teams that had one great game. I thought yesterday that's a team. That's not a team of individuals and who are going to turn up every now and again. That's a team that's going to turn up regularly and get enough points.
OK, so a first win on the board then for Brentford. And as we mentioned with Aston Villa, yet to score from their two games, but it is very early on.
Quite worrying, by the way, for Villa. They've been
linked with Nicholas Jackson. There's a potential there.
They need a bit more, that's for sure, Villa.
OK, lots more for us to digest from yesterday, including Arsenal's 5-star performance against Leeds. Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. We're live on your radio, YouTube and smart TV. It is a man who has the freedom of the French city of Nancy, Tony Cascarino, who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. And we're with you until 9 this morning. Here are some of your headlines that you're waking up to. Chelsea defender Marc Cucurella has confirmed that his contract extension is done amid links to the Saudi Pro League. His previous contract was set to expire in 2028. talkSPORT understands Aston Villa have made Chelsea striker Nicholas Jackson their priority signing for the remainder of this transfer window. And Eberechi Eze was unveiled as the latest Arsenal signing in front of the fans ahead of their victory versus Leeds yesterday. After the game, manager Mikel Arteta spoke about the decision to bring the England forward to the club.
That was a big part of our plans for the summer, but we needed to get things done, and we had other things to do as well. But the timing and what happened with Kai obviously was another factor, and then the club starting from ownership, just understand, and then the board, Andrea and everybody said, big statement, ready to act, ready to send a very strong message as well to the squad. They said, listen, what happened last year, it cannot happen again. So great to have him on board.
Yeah, it certainly is a statement signing, and they've had a really, really good window, I'm sure Arsenal fans would think, Cass. But he sort of alluded to there with the Kai Havertz injury, perhaps this accelerated the move.
We talked about that yesterday, didn't we?
We did. If the Havertz injury wasn't a thing, one, do you think they would have gone for him? And two, would Spurs have been a better choice for him in terms of less competition, maybe, for places in the team?
It's hard to answer that question, Nat, because obviously we don't know what Arsenal were thinking, but I felt it was so obvious that on Sunday, that as soon as Havertz got injured and then during the start of the week that Arsenal had come to the table, is that it was a deal that they had to do. And then, because as a manager would look, I can't lose Havertz for 4 months and not have someone come in. And I think it just accelerated it. Would he be guaranteed more football? Well, look, at big clubs, you're always going to have pressure on your shirt. And they're both big clubs. Arsenal at the moment are a team that have been fighting for titles in the last few years. They've been round and about, nearly been the nearly team. So he would have been excited about both proposals that were put to him. He's gone for the one that looked more likely to win the title.
Yeah.
Or have a chance of winning the title.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a tough one because that's a personal decision that sometimes your heart can rule your head and
Yeah, well, he's a boyhood Arsenal fan as well.
So again, that would add to it. Of course, that would add to it.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, look, let's get more of an Arsenal take on this whole situation and that performance yesterday at the Emirates. Pleased to say joining us, it is Arsenal fan and podcaster from the Highbury squad. It's our very own, I like to say our very own, Sophie Nicolau. How are you, Sophie?
Sophie.
My favourite duo. How's it going, guys?
we only get you on, Sophie, just to say that. Sophie, look, you've seen some very good Arsenal teams over the years, and obviously Arsene Wenger's side, and Mikel sort of developed this squad to an incredible level where we have literally players in every position doubled up. I mean, there were some standout features that were slightly different yesterday. I kept seeing the diagonal ball that Arsenal utilised and did it brilliantly very often yesterday.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting kind of the reaction to Arsenal's performance at Old Trafford. And then you look at how we played against Leeds at home. Think, of course, we were going to be a little bit more creative, much more intent offensively. The Zubimendi addition to this team, I think, is evident after just 2 games. There were a lot of people worried about whether Zubimendi would be able to adapt to the Premier League if he had the physicality to do it. When you're a good footballer and you're able to caress the ball and treat the ball the way he does, it's quite incredible. And I felt like yesterday he worked in the shadows. Declan Rice, I think, was more visible because of the dead ball situations, but Zubimendi and being able to have a player that's elevated, I think, from Jorginho, only because I think it's underrated how well he does off the ball and defensively. I think he brings a lot to the team in that regard. But in terms of controlling the tempo of a game and having a different type of general in the centre of the pitch, I think that as you can see, Tony, how that's been able to elevate how we connect as a team just after a couple of games.
I think that, as you also mentioned there, Cass, the fact that it feels as though Arsenal have doubled up on a lot of the players now in that squad. So the hope is that with Bukayo Saka, for example, going off injured yesterday, Martin Ødegaard likewise. I'm not saying it's necessarily like for like, but you've got players of a good quality that can replace them in this team. And last season, we know injuries were a big problem for Arsenal, kind of derailed their season. So in that sense, Sophie, do you think, well, we're doing the right business and we have done the right business in this summer window, which means we have got a fairer crack, perhaps, at the title?
It's a great point, Natalie. Think about how we would have reacted as fans today had we not made the moves we have in the transfer market so far. The day that started off sunny and bright would have ended with black clouds. And of course, you do not want Saka injured. You do not want Ødegaard injured. But to have the players and the resources, and for Mikel Arteta to have, you know, players in his toolbox that he's able to utilize and that are versatile as well, is the difference maker. We weren't prepared last season. We failed to kind of strengthen the squad in the summer transfer market. We knew Saka was injured on December 21st last year, and January came, Havertz got injured, and we didn't move. We didn't do anything. And now when you look back on those things, you kind of wonder if the club knew that Andrea Berta was going to come in and that they really wanted to go for it in the summer. The difference that Berta's pedigree in the marketplace has made is really quite sensational in comparison to what Edu did. And I'm not, you know, I'm not saying that Edu didn't do a good job, but when you look at Berta and his the space that he occupied at Atletico Madrid, the types of players that he brought in and what he's been able to do so far in this window has been, I think, what is going to save us from being able to cope with the injuries and to be able to kind of bring players in that have, you know, not the same quality across the pitch, but very good quality.
As well, Sophie, there was 2 players that got a brace. Obviously, the centre forward, Gyökeres, and Timber, who is literally, he's become the sort of set piece specialist as well, been on the end of everything. So tell me a bit about the 2. I mean, obviously, Timber was injured a lot of last season, but he's actually now, I mean, it feels really hard for Ben White to dislodge him.
Tony, as a footballer, when you watch this guy play, he's just on a different level. I think Jurrien Timber is one of the best footballers in Europe right now. And we miss him tremendously, yes, when he's injured. Sometimes I have the debate on the show about, is Benjamin White better going forward, but Timber is a much better defender. And I think today, and this is the thing that Arsenal have needed, is competition, you know, play sniffing around your position. And that is something that we've lacked over the last few seasons. And I felt like Timber today elevated his game, one of the best games I've seen him play. He was going forward much more. He and Zubimendi were combining brilliantly. He was finding himself in spaces, you know, in the final third. It was his pass for Saka's amazing right-footed goal. I think he's one of the best signings that Arsenal have made in the last few years. And I think if we're going to be successful in that defensive core, which is the backbone of the team, Jurrien Timber's really important. Gyökeres, how important was it for him to get a goal on his home debut today? You could see the relief, Tony, as a striker. I think we were all relieved. It's like you could put a pin in the Emirates and it went poof. And seeing him celebrate, I love the attitude of the hair adjustment, because there were so many people talking about how he touched his hair more than he touched the ball at Old Trafford. I like that. I like the fact that he's got a little bit of that dirty in him as well. So it was brilliant. And then to take the penalty, I know we were winning the game, but it's high pressure situation. It's the first penalty you're taking at home. Declan Rice hands him the ball and he literally almost broke the back of the net. So it was a great day to be a Gooner. But of course, we hope that Saka and Odegaard are going to be okay. We find out more about these injuries and exactly what's going on. Fingers crossed.
Do you know what, Sophie, is really important in him grabbing the ball for the penalty is to say, I want to be challenging the top goal scorers in the Premier League. Because that's what I've done in Portugal. I want to be at the top of the charts, getting 25, 30 goals. And that's telling you, by him grabbing that ball and taking the penalty the way he did, that's a player with intent.
He's very hungry. You can sense that. He's got this attitude of, he's that number 9. There's something about him that I think when he played at Old Trafford, everyone was expecting him to be Haaland and Harry Kane, day one. And it's just not that easy. You know this more than anyone, Tony, but he's got the hunger. He's got the desire. He was running the channels at Old Trafford. We just weren't finding him. This is a team with a few new players in it that isn't quite clicking, at 100%. And I was talking to Rebecca Lowe from NBC, who was at Old Trafford covering the game for the network. And she was talking too about how Gyökeres was running the channels, but we weren't just finding him. I think today, he doesn't get enough credit for the fact that he is playing in that traditional number 9 role. So what is that doing? It's opening up spaces. I'm sure Leeds thought that Saka was going to cross that ball to Gyökeres for him to head it in. And he didn't. He took the shot. And Gyökeres had 2 players around him. So I think his hunger and his desire and what he's going to be able to bring to the team and what that offers the other, offensive players in the squad is going to be a revelation for us. We've been starving for a player like him. We've been hungry. And I just hope the Arsenal players continue to feed him so he can, get as many goals as possible this season.
Just very, very briefly, Sophie, are you then really positive about this season from what you've seen early doors?
I think that, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but there's something different about Mikel Arteta. Maybe it's only because it's 2 games in, but he seems a little bit calmer. He was less emotional on the sideline at Old Trafford. Talking in the press conference about injuries and, learning lessons from last season. There seems to be something a little bit about him. We always talk about players learning and moving and evolving. And I think the same for him. Arsenal are going to be judged on the last part of the season. Are we going to melt in the spotlight or are we going to grab it this season? And we've learned enough, I think, for it to be, our time. There's no reason why we can't win the title. It's all going to be about mental and how we cope towards the end.
Brilliant as always. Sophie, thank you for being with us.
Sophie. Great
Thanks,
stuff.
guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Great to have you with us. Sophie Nicolau there, the Arsenal podcast. We didn't even talk about Max Dowman and what an incredible performance it was for him when he was brought on at, just 15 years old.
Yeah.
Madness. I mean, my son he's 15 this year. Can't imagine that. That's crazy. What we also quickly should say with Leeds, obviously massively disappointing for them in the sense of a heavy, heavy defeat. But as heavy as that is, that's a result that's not going to define their season. And it is still a very early part of this season too. So lots can still happen, that is for sure. But Arsenal fans, are you confident then that this perhaps could be your year? Why not give us a call? Get in touch. 03717 223344. You can also WhatsApp us on that number. Leave us a voice note. Coming up, we're going to discuss the weekend's EFL action, pick out some results for you. And this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Get your talkSPORT exclusive offer today with 72% off a 2-year plan and an extra 4 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport. Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Thank you very much for joining us this Sunday morning. It's the Crockenhill legend that is Tony Cascarino, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer, and here are some of your headlines today. Kevin De Bruyne scored on his Napoli debut as the Serie A champions began their title defence with a 2-0 win against Sassuolo. Scott McTominay was also on the score sheet, carrying on where he left off last season. The last tennis Grand Slam of the year starts today as the US Open. That is getting underway in New York later. We'll have a full preview of the event shortly. And Tommy Fleetwood is tied for the lead with Patrick Cantlay on 16 under par at the Tour Championship as the Englishman has a chance to finally win his first PGA Tour title. Fleetwood has had 8 top 10 finishes in the majors without ever winning one and 44 top 10 finishes on the American Tour as well, Cass. And I know you're going to be rooting for Fleetwood.
Oh, Tommy.
He is one of those. I know, he is one of those that I think everyone has that same feeling for.
He's playing the best golf of his life. And obviously he's failed at the final hurdle recently. But after Scotty Scheffler, he's been the second best player, with his numbers and his rounds. It's just how he's played. He's leading again. He's in the, there's 40 million up for grabs. It's the top 30 best earners or what they've won in
on the tour,
on the tour so far, and there's $10 million first prize. And it's, I think, for Tommy coming with a Ryder Cup coming, just what a boost it'd be for him because he's playing so lovely golf. It's a joy, and you feel his pain. And I'm a big fan of. I've never met him, just love watching him. I think the way he conducts himself. I think everybody's rooting for Tommy Fleetwood. Just to win, to get one over the line.
Absolutely. I'm sure we'll find out later on if he can do it. Let's just bring you up to speed with some of the results from the EFL yesterday. And we got a start, Cass, with Coventry. Yes. Crikey, what a performance. They celebrated a momentous weekend for the club by hammering 7 past a woeful QPR. Hadji Wright, Jack Rodoni and Victor Torp all scored twice. Brandon Thomas Asante also netted even in an emphatic triumph for them, who've scored 12 times now in just 2 championship matches. It's quite phenomenal. There was a stoppage time consolation, we should say, for Coventry. But crikey, Cass, what a couple of games Coventry fans have enjoyed recently.
Well, you learn a lot as a manager, and I think that Frank Lampard, as from his time at Derby and at Chelsea, Everton, and what you learn along the way. And he's joined a club with an incredible excitement. I mean, we're obviously getting the Coventry Stadium back.
Well, this is what I was going to come to, because we've said that it was a momentous day, and exactly that. Coventry have finally got their hands on the stage. It is their stadium now.
And getting 29,000 in there. Oh. This club that was ground sharing for a period at Birmingham City and under Mark Robbins, and what they were, they were battling against everything. And then to see them last season have an amazing run, get themselves into a playoff, and yes, got beat by Sunderland, but played really well. I think the enthusiasm was there for everybody to see that going into this season that there'll be a lot of backing. And look, they've started brilliantly. And they're obviously a very decent side. So, fair play to the manager and also the players that have really... Sometimes you get knocked back in life and you have that heavy... that would have been heavy on their hearts at the end of last season, losing the playoff.
They're unbeaten, but they are not top of the table because that goes to Stoke and then Middlesbrough, both having won their first 3 games of the season. Stoke with, funnily enough, Mark Robbins, the former Coventry boss, in charge. As I say, they're top of the table due to their better goal difference, and Middlesbrough with Rob Edwards now in charge. Got a 2-1 victory at Norwich to see them continue their 100% start to the season. Do you think we'll see these 2 teams at the top end come the end of the season?
Honestly, it's very difficult now with the Championship to assess. I mean, look, Mark Robbins, absolute top manager. I've always said that what he's done at the teams he's been at, especially Coventry, to keep them where they were, was a brilliant job. And Stoke was a real challenge. That club have spent a lot of money, hired a lot of managers, and it hasn't worked. So far, they've started the season really well. And Rob Edwards is getting a chance at Middlesbrough. Yeah. It's so difficult to assess the Championship.
One team that we do have to focus on, Cass, who haven't started the season well at all in comparison to how well they did last season. I know they missed out at the end, but is Sheffield United. They're rooted to the bottom, Cass.
Yeah.
No points, no wins, no draws, 3 straight defeats, 6 goals conceded and just 1 scored so far, with Ruben Selles now at the helm. They lost at home to Millwall yesterday, courtesy of a first-half goal for the visitors. But I know it's early and anything can happen. Of course it can. But my goodness, it's a bit of a come-down, isn't it? Is this a reaction like a hangover, or is it just because it's a completely new manager, completely new setup potentially? Is that why we're not seeing the fruits of
obviously, I have to be careful because I know Chris. I know Chris really well.
Yeah.
And I can't believe they sacked him. Okay? For whatever reason, if you get 92 points, you'd like to think you go into the next season with a manager that had done a hell of a lot during that season. But there was a lot of change, obviously, with the ownership of the football club. Then there was a guy called James Bald who came in, who had an AI company in America, who's a former poker player that used AI and data, and he's brought it to the football club. Not anything against that, but how far you take AI is another question, because most clubs have got AI anyway on data and metrics of what football players do. They've started really poorly. Now, yesterday, I don't know. I know a few Millwall fans who said that they were a little bit fortunate yesterday, but watching Sheffield United in the opening game of the season against Bristol City, where they got tore apart and lost 4-1, I kept thinking, I wonder how this season's going to go, because they sold a few. A few have gone out the club, major players for them. But how long that club... I know they've got a couple of loans that have come in. Ben Godfrey's come in as a loan. There's been a couple come in. But that club has made a really strange decision. I've never known, if someone can tell me, if there's ever been a manager that's been sacked to have achieved 90-plus points. Because I know they got a 2-point deduction, but we say they actually got 92 points. Has anybody ever been sacked with that amount of points? I can't even think there's even close to it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that someone would lose their job. And all suspicions, my feeling, I don't know. I wasn't even sure if they got promoted if they were staying with Chrissy Wilder.
Really? Gosh.
Well, there was clear intentions. It all happened so quickly.
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
it happened so quickly, and there was not even an interview process. They just announced Ruben Selles.
Yeah.
Normally clubs go, well, we've lost this manager for whatever reasons. Then there's a process of interviewing who might be available. There was none of that. So it's like, well, they've already decided before the end of the season that Chrissy Wilder's going whatever. And I find that amazing. Just amazing decision. Look, if it pans out and they end up getting promoted, then they're all right. But from where I'm standing now, they're below Sheffield Wednesday, by the way, who have had way more problems than Sheffield United.
Yeah, well...
And Sheffield Wednesday got 1 point more than them.
Yeah, and fought back from 2-0 down at Wrexham to secure a point in that game.
And with hardly any players.
Indeed. So, yeah, you're right. But bizarre times for Sheffield United. But as we've been saying, it's still very early in the season, just 3 games in, and plenty of time for Ruben Selles to turn things around. OK, this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport. In the next hour, we're going to discuss Spurs after their terrific win at the Etihad, and we'll look ahead to the US Open with former British tennis player Barry Cowan.
The Lions. Real-life fantasy rugby. Bitter rivalries set aside in a quest to create the world's best team in weeks. There's nothing like it, but who on earth had the idea and how did it all begin? Incredibly, the first Lions tour was organised and funded by three men who played in England's first ever Test cricket match. Opening bowler Alfred Shaw, opening batsman Arthur Shrewsbury and captain James Lillywhite. The 1888 Lions squad then, made up of 17 English, 4 Scots and 1 Welshman and a Northern Irishman, took a 46-day boat trip to New Zealand before heading to Australia. The Lions weren't alone on the boat. Also on board were 300 stoats and weasels who were brought over to eliminate New Zealand's rabbit problem. The first ever Lions captain, Robert Seddon, died of drowning midway through the tour while sculling on a river. Andrew Stoddart, who was another of the cricketers there, took over and was the star of the tour. The next one was the first to get official recognition from the RFU against the newly formed Springboks. Although the Lions won the series and beat the Boks again 5 years later, in the 12 series since in South Africa, they've only won 2. New Zealand has proved an even tougher hunting ground, just a 1 series win for the Lions in 11 attempts, which came in 1971. And then there was that nail-shredding drawn series in 2017, only the second in Lions history. Only once have the Lions clinched a series after losing the first test, 1989, when David Campese's infamous ghost pass was pounced upon by Ian Evans. Before World War II, the Lions had a dark blue strip, which on the 1930 tour forced the All Blacks to play in all white. So in 1950, the iconic red shirts, white shorts and blue and green socks combination was born. It remains the symbol of the greatest alliance of adversaries in all of sport. To borrow the phrase from Jim Telfer, the Lions is Everest.
Good morning, this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Natalie Sawyer, pleasure to have you with us, and with me it is the former Marseille striker known as Tony Goal. That's Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Indeed. Spurs stunned Manchester City. It was live on talkSPORT yesterday.
Here's Richarlison, this should be 2-0. Polinia, it is 2-0. It's terrible from Trafford. It's a meltdown from Manchester City, and Tottenham Hotspur take full advantage.
There was a 5-star performance at the Emirates as Arsenal thrashed Leeds.
Up steps Gyökeres and slams it into the bottom left-hand corner. A ferocious penalty. It's Arsenal 5, Leeds 0.
Plenty more as well. Plus, there's a load of cracking games coming your way today in the Premier League, including what's being dubbed as El Clasico, as Crystal Palace take on Nottingham Forest. The Forest boss Nuno Espirito Santo is expecting a spicy occasion.
What happened, I think it's not us to blame. But I expect on Sunday, with all the respect, it's going to be a tough atmosphere.
We'll have more on that game to come. But quickly, Cass, I wanted to just get to what you were talking about, Sheffield United.
Yes, yeah.
Because Ben Birkinshaw's been in touch on X, and he says you are spot on about Wilder and these clueless owners. And then you asked the question about 90 points or 92 points.
Yeah.
Anyone ever been sacked? Ben highlights Darren Moore, if you remember, with Sheffield Wednesday,
right,
got them promoted after that incredible comeback in the semi-final against Peterborough, where they were 4-0 down. And
right, yeah, remember that, yeah.
Won the playoff and then got sacked before he even had the chance to take them into.
Did he achieve 90 points?
96.
96, wow.
I
mean, sometimes the game just feels crazy. I'd never heard of that number, but I mean, Yeah, I have to be careful because obviously some people say I've got a bias. I haven't. I try and call it how I see it. I just thought it was a ridiculous decision, and I knew the people involved that were involved in, James Bald got involved with Sheffield United. He's got a stake in the club, and he's had a successful AI company, and they're using that obviously to help with football. There's nothing wrong with that. Lots of clubs do that. How far do you take it? Anyway,
I know we were sort of talking about it yesterday a little bit, weren't we, at the Brentford game, and we were sort of saying in terms
human,
of the
emotional
does it
part.
take into account anything like that? The personal problems that a player might be going through that still wants to play but might have a heavy burden on them, etc., etc. Well, it's just not.
There's simple things of like if you're going to use AI and say team selection, depending who we're playing against. AI is going to determine who should be the right personnel to play in the game. Yeah. Well, if the players scored 2 the week before, but AI says, well, this particular forward needs to play more than that one, then that player's getting dropped by AI if you're going to go that far. That's just crazy. They don't do team talks. They don't do team talks, AI, half-time or full-time or before,
Well, they might do for we know.
they might do it further down the line as it evolves. But I just find it, come on. You have to understand there's a human element that sometimes overrides AI because there's things that the AI would not know as we stand today. It might know in 5 years, 10 years' time. I just think you have to be very conscious of that. So, yeah.
Okay.
Said a lot about it.
Tricky start for Sheffield United, certainly, but plenty of games to rectify things for sure. Let's focus on Spurs, shall we, once more. They came away from the Etihad yesterday with a 2-0 win over Manchester City to make it 2 wins from 2 under Thomas Frank in the Premier League, all without conceding a goal too. Not a bad way to start their new era. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. Spurs do have a terrific record at the Etihad, having scored 9 in their last 3 games there, including a memorable 4-0 win last season. After the game then, Thomas Frank praised his team, saying there was a lot to be impressed about with their performance.
Great performance in many ways. I thought the first 35 minutes was very even with City slightly on top. I think the goal shifted the momentum of the first goal. Second half I thought we were exceptional. I think the way we kept playing, kept pressing, kept being super aggressive. Impressed me a lot. And then we got a clean sheet. Another clean sheet. Last year we only got 6, so there's been a big focus on clean sheets. That's easy, but all the defensive phases are high pressure, aggressive, middle block, what do we do there, low block, how do we defend the box, mentality to block shots and stuff like that. So big praise to the boys.
Thomas Frank then, full of positivity after that win. Let's bring you a Spurs reaction then to it. It's Spurs podcaster Chris Cowlin who joins us. Morning to you, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Chris.
Natalie, Tony. Yeah, very, very good. Very, very excited about Thomas Frank. I tell you, we've got off to a flying start. 2 games, 2 wins, 2 clean sheets. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, and I mean, look, I was saying to Natalie, you have to be careful because obviously Postecoglou, when he started, he had an incredible run at the start of the season, so people will remind you of that. I think the standout feature of me is watching players, especially in midfield, like yesterday, Paulina, Sarr, who started the season sensationally, by the way. His work rate has been incredible. Bentancur, all of that dynamic. And yesterday's victory was clearly very clinical and been worked on all week.
Absolutely. These players, Tony, are so well drilled now. I last spoke to you a couple of months ago when Thomas Frank was appointed, but I've been impressed throughout the whole of pre-season. And as you said there, Sarr has been excellent, but the midfield yesterday, but you could virtually go through the whole starting 11 yesterday. They put in an absolute shift. It was the perfect performance. So clinical in front of goal as well. And the great thing about it is that we went in 2-0. The players were very, very happy at that point, and we went for the 3rd goal. We didn't just sit back and just hold on to that lead. We went for the 3rd goal, and we were very unlucky at the end of the game not to get the 3rd goal. But Thomas Frank has just instilled such optimism amongst the fan base. But as you said, Postecoglou got off to a flying start. We have been here before. We're not getting carried away as Spurs fans. I know we'll probably talk about the transfer window. There is so much more work to do in the window, but he has come in and he has organised this team, given everyone real self-belief. And we just look so organised. And the level of communication, I know, Natalie, you don't need me to tell you about Thomas Frank and how great he is. But he has been a shining light in this football club so far, and long may it continue. Because I know a lot of people, pundits, fans, etc., said, "Oh, Spurs only beat Burnley last week. That's expected." But to go to City the way that we did yesterday, and we disrupted their rhythm. We didn't let them play, and it was one of the best performances I've seen for a very, very long time from this Spurs team.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I will speak glowingly of Thomas Frank for forevermore because of what he's done for my club. And as weird as it might sound, I do hope he does well for you because I have such affection for him. He's a great figurehead for your club. He was a great figurehead for ours, and he's a very honest manager, which I think is, as fans, you want. But just tell us a little bit about what you've noticed that might be a little bit different about Spurs under Thomas Frank than it was under Ange Postecoglou.
Well, I went to all of the pre-season, Natalie. I went out to Hong Kong, South Korea. I also did the Germany one and of course, the Super Cup. And also went to a couple of the open training sessions. And the open training sessions were so different this time to Ange Postecoglou. They used to, when they used to put 11v11 in one of the training sessions under Ange, it would be goal, goal, goal. They used to end up like 12-all. One of them in Hong Kong ended up 0-0, and the one in South Korea it was 1-0. And this is in training sessions. Tony, as a former professional, if you went into a training session and you scored one goal, as two teams, one goal in a training session, it's just unheard of. But it's just so different. But the level of communication between him and all of the coaching staff, like when there's a break in a game, like yesterday, for example, there was a couple of breaks in the game. Thomas Frank's getting the players over straight away. He's talking to them. The communication is just top notch. The players are talking to one another. You didn't really notice that in the last couple of years, and that isn't me dissing Ange. That's me answering the question of how different things are. But the coaches are so on the ball as well. And Romero now as captain, I feel like there is a real calmness, and that's really weird because a lot of pundits, people like yourself, would probably be surprised by that. But there was an incident in the game yesterday where there was a bit of a rut going on, and Romero came in as the calming presence as the captain, which was quite weird. It was weird to see.
It is. Can I just jump in there? Because, Chris, there was a couple of things that have happened, obviously. I was at Spurs last week against Burnley. And one of the biggest things that I used to say about Spurs was detrimental towards Postecoglou and the way they played, was that you were easy to play against.
Yeah.
And I'd seen the previous season, not last year, the previous season when you played Chelsea away, Newcastle away and Liverpool away. And you conceded, I think, 11 in total. And I came away and I said, the person I was with, how easy it is to play against Spurs.
Thomas Frank is going to set us up every single game in a different way. And that's what I love about him, because his technical awareness and his flexibility is absolutely brilliant. And like you've just said there, Tony, very difficult to play against. I think that a lot of people were extremely impressed, although we lost on penalties in that Super Cup final, the way that we played against PSG. And then, of course, it highlighted how much depth that Spurs have going into the Champions League, and the draws on Thursday, by the way. So there's a lot of work to do in the squad, I still believe. But we knew that Thomas Frank was going to come in. The job that he did at Brentford, the 4 years in the Premier League, brilliant job. And he deserved this chance at a club like Spurs, and he's really grabbed it. And I feel in a really positive way at the moment under Thomas Frank. But I cannot stress enough, when you have a manager like this that that can do a good job, you need to give them the tools that they need to kick on, particularly when we've won the Europa League. That was a fantastic experience for all of us Spurs fans to lift that trophy in the trophy parade, and we won it again. And, a coach like Thomas Frank who can get the best out of players, I have always felt that when Thomas Frank came in, he can get the best out of players, but if you give him a couple of really good signings as well, and Mohamed Kudus, by the way, £55 million from West Ham, what were they thinking? He is an absolute baller. He is absolutely sensational. Throughout pre-season and these two Premier League games so far has been brilliant. Richarlison, again, Thomas Frank is known for getting the best out of players. Richarlison, he looks like a new signing at the moment. We haven't seen this version of Richarlison before, and he has been sensational. But like I said earlier, every single player yesterday put a shift in, and you very rarely talk about great team performances and all 11 players giving absolutely everything. But that's what happened yesterday.
Just two questions in one very quickly. the disappointment of this summer window, though. You mentioned Kudus, and yes, he could turn out to be a brilliant signing for you, but there have been players you've been linked with who have come and gone, unfortunately, most recently Eze now going to Arsenal. So your thoughts on... yeah, true. So your thoughts on that, and also the fact that it's 2 games in, 2 wins out of 2, but still people are not talking about Spurs as anywhere near the title race. But what would be your hope for Spurs this season?
No, Natalie, we're not anywhere near the title race. Don't get carried away here. What would be a really good season for Spurs is a European spot and, perhaps a good cup run and perhaps even lifting a trophy. But you mentioned there about the transfer window. Morgan Gibbs-White and Eze were 2 top targets for Spurs. It is very disappointing. Very, very gutted, actually, if I'm honest, about the Eze situation. But Spurs, in these last, week, 8 days of the transfer window, we need to pull something out of the bag because, as I said, Thomas Frank needs the depth. The club have come out and said a number of times that we want to be fighting on all fronts. Daniel Levy said we want to win the Premier League and the Champions League. There is a long, long way to go. It cannot just be put on Thomas Frank getting the best out of players. He needs help as well. We've brought 2 players in Polinia and Kudus who have made a great difference, and they've been, starters. They will start pretty much every game when they're fit, but it isn't sustainable to be playing that same starting 11. We knew that under Ange in the last couple of seasons when you get injuries. So he needs a depth, but he also needs a couple of star quality players. They're talking about Savinho and Man City. They're talking about Paz from Como. They need to pull something out of the bag, in my opinion. Help the manager. The manager.
Chris, it's been great. Thank you.
Cheers, Chris.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Great to chat to you. Chris Cowlin there, a Spurs podcaster, certainly. A lot of optimism from him. And
rightly
why not?
so.
Yeah,
rightly
why
so.
Not? Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport.
This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes! Yes!
he is an unlocker of defences.
If you've got a problem or something to say, you don't have the right to say anything about something. I do.
This nonsense kills the game.
This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Thank you very much for being with us this Sunday morning. It is the former Nancy and Red Star striker. Oh, no. Shouldn't say Red Star, should I?
Yeah, I wasn't really long
Very
enough
loose,
there.
that one. We'll forget that one.
Yeah.
Nancy striker, Tony Cascarino, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 9, and there's just one day left to enter our VIP competition as the NFL returns to Wembley in October. The Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box with full hospitality plus $5,000 spending money. Wow. It all ends tomorrow, though, so you've got to be quick to enter. Here's how you can do it.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
Okay, best of luck for that. Remember, it's tomorrow that you've got to enter by. Okay, it's time for a little bit of this.
She's a model and she's looking good.
A bit of craft work for you this morning with the song The Model. The question is, why are we playing it, Cass? You can shed light on that.
Well, we normally do our sort of paper review here now, and it struck me that you've got competition at Brentford. You've got competition that as the Queen Bee. You really have. Because Claudia Schiffer was there yesterday.
I know.
You know, and
she's been rocking up a few times as well.
Is it getting to you?
It's frustrating the focus on her. I'm only a few. I'm not that far away from her where she sits.
I know, but
no attention.
Tell us why she's at Brentford, because there is a reason.
Yes. So as last season, she was at a few games as well, alongside her husband, who is Sir Matthew Vaughan, who is the film producer, and he has now become an investor in Brentford Football Club, along with Gary Lubner, who I think there's some family connection, whether it's a godfather, I'm not sure, there's something. Okay. They've become investors in Brentford. I think it's around about 400 million or so I was reading, but that's
you could buy Brentford for that, the whole of
not
Brentford.
Hey. So obviously as a result of that, it means that they're going to be at these games quite regularly. And
will she be in the lounges doing talks and meeting the legends and like you do, Nat?
I know. Where was she when we were in League Two?
I was going to say.
I mean, you know, when we were battling relegation, there was a fear that we were going to go down under Terry Butcher, who I do love as a person, but wasn't great as our manager, it must be said. Yeah. Where were you? And all those other fair weather fans that are now turning up at the G-Tech just because we're in the Premier League. No, listen, it's bringing attention to the club in more ways than one, but it's all positive, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, celebrities are turning up everywhere at the moment, aren't they?
Well, Thomas Tuchel was there yesterday.
Yeah, well, John O'Shea, Stevie Clark, who I play with, the Scotland manager, and Thomas Tuchel, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Claudia Schiffer.
And the funny thing is, it's obviously her husband, and as I say, the other investor who are the investors in this. Obviously, it's the family thing, but she's getting all the attention, and her husband's there like, oh, don't worry about me. But anyway, it's great, as I say, and she's putting it all on social media as well, and all this. So it's good, as I say.
Well, we've seen all this, haven't we? With obviously Wrexham and Birmingham, what's happened with Tom Brady, and we've seen it quite. I always used to. We used to have at Villa, Nigel Kennedy, who was the violinist. He used to come into the players' lounge and he'd get his violin out and he'd play. We'd get him to get on his violin and play a tune.
Yeah.
But he used to leave it on the side, and apparently, I don't know because I don't know the prices of violins, but he used to leave it on the side, and people say that's worth £500,000.
Well, they can be. They can be. It's an incredible price for a violin.
Yeah, but he used to come in and play the old violin. Wow. You know, and there's a few that have, you know.
Well, Villa do have a few famous fans.
Yeah, well,
Tom
obviously
Hanks,
William,
a certain Prince William.
Prince William,
absolutely.
Tom Hanks series jumped onto that one as well.
He's jumped on the bandwagon
in the last few years.
But it's fantastic, isn't it? What you are saying. I mean, I love Anne Hathaway is a very fervent Arsenal fan. She knows all the songs and everything. The actress,
right.
yeah.
Oh, right.
You see her on social media.
We had one. He's not so well known because now he was in big films at the time in the sort of 80s. Was Paul Moriarty, who was a Millwall fan. He was called Razors in The Long Good Friday.
Oh.
He used to come into the lounge regularly, and he lived local. He lived in Chislehurst, where I was living at the time, and he used to come in, and he was a well-known face. But he was for the gangster films, you know. All the sort of, he was in a number of films, but mainly all gangland.
Okay.
And he used to come in, but he actually was very much like the character. You'd meet him, he'd always be dressed in a suit, you know, with his tie, and he'd come to the games really smart, and he's got this big scar on his face.
Oh.
He was that sort of type.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know.
Well, it got us thinking this morning for you to get in touch. Why not tell us about your celebrity fans? Maybe we should have like a celebrity fan-off. Who's got the most well-known fan?
Oh.
That would be quite good.
Yeah, that's a tough. Well, can anyone beat Villa? Because Prince William, that is a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty.
There ain't much bigger than Prince William, is there?
No.
Or are we just talking celebs and he's ruled out?
Well, no,
he's out of the equation.
I think you put him in that bracket because he's going to get.
He can get dropped.
Anyway, Julia Roberts, Manchester United fan. You've got Russell Crowe, who's a Leeds fan, isn't he? Right. Sylvester Stallone, I think, is an Evertonian.
Is he?
It's the randomness of some of them as well. Like,
I know.
Why would he be an Evertonian? I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But maybe not a celebrity fan off, but at least alert us to someone we might have missed off who deserves the credit.
It also happens. There's quite a lot of famous people who are into American football as well, aren't there? You know, like are fans of American clubs, and you see them or their football clubs.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure. 81089 is the text number. The WhatsApp is 03717 223344. Let us know about your club's celebrity fan. And it might be even better if it's a bit more obscure. Like we would be like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example.
Gillingham, someone famous at Gillingham, my club. I can't think of anybody that I've met along the way.
Be a celebrity Gills fan.
Yeah.
Or Jill's fan, I should
Gills, not Gills.
I always say Gills because in my head it's Gills, but it's not. It's Jills.
I love it when I have to correct you because you probably have to do that 1,000 times to me, but I got that one chance, just that one chance to do it every now and again.
You didn't even correct me. I had to correct myself, and then you went, "Oh, it's Jills."
No, Jills. Come on.
I'm just saying. Yeah, get in touch this morning. It'd be great to hear from you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Get your talkSPORT exclusive offer today with 72% off a 2-year plan and an extra 4 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport. Up next, we'll talk tennis with the US Open fast approaching. A very good morning to you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. It is a man who certainly knows how to do a fabulous shampoo and set, Tony Cascarino, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer. Here are some of your headlines today. Bukayo Saka was subbed as he was injured during Arsenal's 5-0 win over Leeds. Mikel Arteta said that he took him off for something that looks significant. Captain Martin Ødegaard also had to go off in the first half with what looks like a shoulder issue. talkSPORT understands Andre Onana is expected to stay at Manchester United even if they sign a new goalkeeper. United take on Fulham today at Craven Cottage, looking for their first points of the season. And after losing 1-0 versus Bournemouth yesterday, the Wolves boss Vitor Pereira maintained that the club need to bring in more players in order to properly compete.
Do you need some help from the board as well in terms of new signings, because the squad looks a bit light at this moment in time?
Yes, they know what we need. I think until the end of the market, we need 3 players for 3 positions to have more solutions. But they know, and I hope they can bring the players.
2 games, 2 losses for Wolves.
Yeah.
Cass, 1-0 defeat yesterday to Bournemouth that we mentioned, following on from that 4-0 loss to Manchester City last time. Any concerns for Wolves? Highly concerning? What's going on?
Well, I think you'd always be concerned if you start the season and you haven't scored a goal, and you also maybe could lose Strand Larsen, which could be another problem if that's, in the pipeline. You never know with football clubs. So, yeah, of course Wolves fans would be concerned about, because Pereira done a great job last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wolves in the Premier League and with some really fine performances. And he's a manager going into this season like a few others that have done relatively very little business.
Yeah, and lost some big players as well during the summer window. OK, the final major of the season in the tennis calendar begins today as the US Open gets underway at Flushing Meadows in New York. I'm pleased to say joining us to look ahead to it is former British tennis player Barry Cowan. Barry, good morning. How are you doing today?
Hi, Barry.
Very good, thanks. Good morning, both of you.
Yeah. Barry, can I ask you first? Because I don't know if Natalie was going to ask you this, but I wanted to because of Venus Williams at 44 being in the US Open, and she's been given a wild card, I think, hasn't she?
She has. It's extraordinary that, at 44 years of age, as she said, what she achieved. And actually, a couple of weeks ago on her comeback, she had an amazing win against Peyton Stans, the American, way above Venus's rankings. And what surprises me, and I discussed it a few weeks ago actually on talkSPORT, is how someone who's achieved so much still has got the motivation to go out and then compete, because she obviously is nowhere near, and she never will get to anywhere near the level that she was at before, but still got that love to go out there and fight and try and win tough tennis points in the heat and humidity.
Yeah, and it's something about your home tournament you want to be involved in, don't you, at the end of the day, Barry?
Well, yes. I mean, she's not playing for money. She's not playing for a ranking. I guess she's just playing, because US Open's got fond memories for her. But she's not done too badly on a comeback. As I said, Peyton Stearns was ranked 35 in the world. She lost, against Bozas Monero, Spaniard, close match a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati. That was 6-4, 6-4. So, she's probably still feels that she's got a decent level in her. I just think amazing that the body at 45 years of age. I know what my body was like at 45.
Well, I know about it now. Not great. Tell us about Jack Draper, because he's obviously had some injury issues. He says he's all right, but do you think there is a concern for him coming into this one?
I think it's a good question. I think the concern definitely is not about how he feels. And I watched him actually in the mixed doubles. I don't know if you guys got hold of that this week. Sort of a unique thing that the US Open did. Personally, I like it. I think it was a good move. It was sold out, certainly the second day, and all the top players generally played it. But Jack looks strong and physically, and obviously he's fresh. And I think that was important after the shoulder injury that he sustained, around the Wimbledon time. However, and that's the positive side. However, the negative side is he hasn't played any matches, and generally, I go with the feeling that you have to have played leading into the US Open. They've played a lot of tennis generally this year. I think miles in the legs is crucial. He's obviously lacking matches. So I think for Jack, what he needed was a good draw. And what Jack has got is a good draw, which is positive news. So actually originally thinking that Jack would do well to get to the last 16, I think there's a real chance that he can make the quarterfinals, and that would mean potentially another meeting with Jannik Sinner, who, of course, he lost in the semi-finals last year.
All the Grand Slams, out of all of them, what one would you feel that Novak Djokovic, who's obviously chasing his 25th major Grand Slam, and he still hasn't managed to get over the line, but does this open the door for him as the best chance for Novak?
Honestly, no. I think now his best chance is Wimbledon. I think that, I'm not including Djokovic, as things stand, with a chance to win here. I just don't feel, talking about Jack hasn't played. Well, Djokovic hasn't played. Yeah. And as well as Djokovic played at Wimbledon, unfortunately, I have to say that the body let him down. And this is becoming a regular occurrence for Djokovic, that, it doesn't seem that he's able to play for 2 weeks to go deep. And if you're not 100% fit against Sinner, as we saw at Wimbledon, then you're going to get, unfortunately, comfortably beaten. But he's probably at an age now where he's got to manage his body. Well, if you're trying to manage your body, you're not playing enough matches, and therefore I think you're slightly undercooked. So I think that's where I sit now with Djokovic, that the level's absolutely there. He hasn't lost that level. He hasn't lost that competitive edge. I think his game is very much still stands up with the modern players. I just don't think he's playing enough tennis. And when I look at it now, with the way the men's game is, I think there's been a big shift. The last 30 majors have been won by Djokovic, Alcaraz and Sinner. The last 7 have been won by Sinner and Alcaraz. Almost every week now on tour, it is Sinner and Alcaraz in the final. They are a level or two ahead of everyone else. So for you to win a major, you're going to have to probably beat those two back to back. Well, I think we're now talking about the same era as when we had a Nadal, Djokovic, Federer, how hard it was to win majors. We saw that with Andy Murray. You haven't got to beat one. Sometimes you've got to beat 3. So physically and mentally, that takes its toll. So I think the way the men's game now is shaping up, guys, I just cannot see past Sinner and an Alcaraz final, to be honest. And, take your pick which one of those two will win it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been treated to some great finals this year alone with these two involved, especially that French Open final. And I suppose you could argue the Wimbledon final or the Wimbledon tournament for Jannik Sinner. I mean, Grigor Dimitrov certainly tested him. It was just unfortunate that he had to pull out of that match with an injury, because it did look as though he could have been ousted from that tournament.
Yeah, I was still backing Sinner at 2 sets to love, though, I must confess.
Oh, okay.
Those great players, they find a way. But obviously, he did get a little bit of luck. But I thought the French Open was, as we know, incredible. But what amazes me, and I'm sure Cass can relate to it, sometimes you have two teams, they play in a short space of time, and one team wins, and you think automatically when they play the next week, that same team is going to win. Yeah. And it's often in reverse.
Yeah.
And I felt with that Wimbledon final, I felt that Sinner had so much to prove because of what happened. He was hurt, understandably so. And, that brought the best out of him mentally. And I just thought in that final with Alcaraz, I just thought he was lacking something. And when I say something, it's not a lot, but that 1 or 2% can make a big difference. He just, when I kept expecting him to reach that next level, he just wasn't able to get there until the latter stage of the fourth set, when it was a little bit too late. But I feel he's fresh. I feel right now he's playing the best tennis.
Yeah.
But, as we say, when they've got to play 6 matches to get to the final, it could just be one of those days where they wake up like Sinner had in Cincinnati last week in the final. He woke up and he was nowhere near fit. And, Alcaraz obviously raced away with the first 5 games before, unfortunately, Sinner had to pull out.
Yeah, we see it all the time in sport, Chris. I see it, in cricket, tennis. You watch cricket, you think, the England won comfortably that, or in a rugby game, and a week later they get beaten. And we all assess everything by what happened the week before, which is fair enough, because it's the only information you've got. But so often it can be reversed very, very quickly, can't it? That's the sport in general.
Yeah, and the beauty about tennis is because it's over 2, we just don't know what's going to happen in the next 12, 13 days before we expect them to play in the final. There will be someone along that journey who plays an unbelievable match. I don't think even an unbelievable match would be able to beat Alcaraz and Sinner, but that knock-on effect can count for so much. They often say, you can't win a major in the first week, but you can certainly lose a major in the first week. And I think that's where we come back to Jack. I think that's the important part with Jack, is that to try and just manage, if he can, those early rounds where he gets, gets through it 3 sets, or ideally, or 4 sets, definitely not 5.
Barry, you mentioned obviously men's tennis and how we're going to see this dominance of Sinner and Alcaraz. It's a very different story in the women's side of things, because you look at the last few majors, it's been a different winner every time. Emma Raducanu's been playing well. She seems to be quite positive coming into this one. So do you think she's got a chance of winning it once again? Or who else are you backing to win this one?
Close shot for me, the women's. I just cannot see past Swiatek. I mean, right at the top at the moment, it's absolute carnage with the women. You had Coco Gauff, who won the French Open. Unfortunately, she's struggling to serve. So she's just hired a technical serving coach, who ironically was the same guy that Sabalenka hired a few years ago when she had the yips on her second serve. So, at the moment, Gauff is really struggling. I think at the moment, Sabalenka is struggling in terms of that high end. I think we saw her at Wimbledon, just emotionally. I think she's taken a bit of a knocking after not winning the French when she was the better player in that final. Gauff handled the situation better. She wasn't able to win that final of the Australian. So I think right now, as things stand, Swiatek is head and shoulders above everyone else. She won last week in Cincinnati. But coming back to Raducanu, I think she's had a brilliant year. I really do. I think she's made nice, slow progress. She's talking positively. She seems happy. I think she's got a really good coach. And let's hope that that's a relationship that can last, because you don't all of a sudden, with a flick of the switch, although she obviously changed that 4 years ago when it was literally a flick of the switch for Raducanu when she won the title. But generally, it's just slow progress, slow improvement. And what counts against it, she just can't quite get to that seeded position. And I thought it was heading towards that way. a couple of weeks ago, but she's just outside those seeds. So she potentially plays Kudermetova in the second round, who's been playing well the last few weeks, and Rybakina in the third round. And Rybakina, as well as she can play, she can have off days. So let's hope that if Raducanu does get to the third round, it's an off day for Rybakina.
All right. Barry, thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
It's been great to chat to you.
Lovely to speak to you guys.
Take
Have a good
care.
Sunday.
Barry Cowan there, former British tennis star. And yes, the US Open getting underway this weekend in what is the final major on the tennis calendar. Right, on the way next, we're going to start to look ahead to today's football and what is anticipated to be a match, perhaps full of animosity, and perhaps you could call it a grudge match as Palace face Forest today. For tuning in to the Weekend Sports Breakfast. It's the former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino who is with me, Natalie Sawyer. We've had a message in, Cass.
Go on.
Stop repeating the presenter story and hair routine. We all know now. I appreciate the message, but I'm just going to tell you why we do it. It's basically to do with assumed not. We should never assume everybody knows everybody. We shouldn't assume it, especially when someone might just be tuning in for the first time. You never know. So that's why we are asked to do it, and we do it for those that might not know that Cass was once a hairdresser and played in France, played in Scotland, played in England. And
I know.
That's why we do it. So I'm just clarifying it for you. Hope that you understand. Here are some of your headlines today. A much-changed Celtic side delivered the perfect European Cup send-off by beating Livingston 3-0 as Brendan Rodgers' side head to Kazakhstan in search of a place in the Champions League proper. The last tennis Grand Slam of the year starts today at the US Open in New York. And it's been a busy week on talkSPORT.com. So here is talkSPORT's Sean O'Brien with what you need to know.
Tons happening over on talkSPORT.com, but let's start with Arsenal's blockbuster move for Eberechi Eze. We've taken a look at 2 ways the Gunners could line up with their new number 10 after his move to the Emirates was confirmed. And in the EFL, find out which record Frank Lampard equalled as his Coventry team put 7 past QPR. Speaking of records, Cristiano Ronaldo became the first player in history to reach a remarkable landmark, even though his trophy curse at Al Nassr continued. And in Germany, Harry Kane has matched one of his Premier League records in 256 games fewer with Bayern Munich. That's all happening over on talkSPORT.com.
Yeah, always worth checking out our website. OK, let's discuss one of our huge games coming your way today. And at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace will face Nottingham Forest. Now, these two sides have already come face-to-face this summer, not on the pitch, but in the courtroom. The two clubs have been embroiled in a bitter feud since the end of last season, driven by European competition. Palace initially qualified for the Europa League through their FA Cup win, with Forest making the Conference League through their league position. But UEFA's multi-club ownership rules put paid to that, with John Textor's investment in both Lyon and Palace causing the authorities to insist that the two clubs could not play in the same competition. That despite Textor selling his shares in the Premier League club. Forest, as it says here, jumped in to claim Palace's Europa League place, with Oliver Glasner's side demoted to the Conference League, much to their and their fans' frustrations. They took the case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but that proved to be, fruitless because they lost that case. And as a result, they will play in the Conference League, and it will be Forest who will be playing in the Europa League this season. So as you can imagine, there's a bit of animosity perhaps coming into this one, and it's a game that has now been dubbed as El Clásico, with a play on of CAS at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. If that's not enough drama, there's also been a lot of talk recently about the future of Nuno Espirito Santo, who is been quite open about what seems to be a falling out with the owner, Evangelos Marinakis. Joining us to discuss all of it and build up to the game, we can speak to talkSPORT's very own Max Scott, who's a Forest fan. Max, morning, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Hello, Max.
You well?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, how are you feeling about all of this? Because in some ways, forgetting the Palace side of things, just for one moment, after what happened last season and coming into this season, a lot of optimism, great summer window, yet you're sort of thinking, what's going to happen now with Nuno?
There's never a quiet day at Nottingham Forest, is there? I mean, just when you thought, I felt like after the signing of Douglas Luiz, who came after James McAtee, Amari Hutchinson, Arno Calamuendo, some top players, you really felt like the club was in the best place it's been for decades. You've got a manager that's taken the club to Europe for the first time in 30 years. We've kept Morgan Gibbs-White, all of that sort of stuff. And then there's this bombshell press conference, which equally was less surprising than I initially thought, because, of course, before the start of the season, Nuno was saying he was incredibly concerned. We're not in a good place. We're not prepared. Quite unusual. But then when the club go and sign 5 players in a week, you sort of think Nuno's going to be feeling a lot more positive. He's going to have the strength in depth he needs for Thursday, Sunday games. And then comes out sort of very public criticism of the owner. And the thought that Nuno won't be the manager, I think, has taken the excitement away, for me anyway. I'm going to Selhurst Park today. I can't wait for the game. But with those problems off the pitch, you sort of head into it with a lot more trepidation, because you think the stability that the club needs is going to be sort of potentially ripped from underneath its feet.
Max, I was saying yesterday, which is quite a strange dynamic, is that, we normally associate, if things are not right at the top of the football club and there's problems going on upstairs and directors and owners, whoever, that it filters down to on the pitch. But it's been the complete opposite of Forest. You've been brilliant on the pitch. There's nothing wrong on the football sense. The side's really good. It's been, you've added to what you've already got, getting Douglas Luiz and others, and Chris Wood opens and gets a brace at the start of the season, Morgan Gibbs, you go on and on. Mm-hmm. Everything on the pitch it feels like it's in a fantastic place.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way Forest played on Saturday, and there were lots of questions in the off season, wasn't there, about how can Forest develop and evolve the way they play from just being really solid defensively and then scoring a few goals on the counter attack. And I think that performance against Brentford was totally dominant, particularly in the first half. And I felt like it went away to show that Forest have found a different way to play, that they have something else in their locker, particularly with Morgan Gibbs-White staying at the club. And so there's so much positivity on the pitch, Cass, and you sort of think, a change right now, and with, someone like Ange Postecoglou linked to the club, for me, that is incredibly concerning, because we've got an identity, we've got that stability, and I don't want that to change. But obviously there are tensions between Edu and Nuno Espirito Santo. Obviously, Edu's come in as the sort of global sporting director, and I think there's tension between how Nuno feels that some of the signings were brought in, maybe that then they're not the ones that he specifically wanted. Of course, we've seen Ben Jacobs and Alex Cook reporting that. But you sort of just think, if Nuno's going to say things like that in his press conference, that his relationship's no longer the same with the owner, that there's been a breakdown in relationship, it sort of makes a lot of fans think he clearly wants out. That's you don't say those things publicly if you I think there's reason that he's saying that. And how does he come back from that? How does he making such criticism of his employer? Is there reconciliation? It doesn't feel like that's possible at the minute.
Yeah, it's a really, really bizarre situation. Like you say, you should be going into this game with so much more positivity following that first victory. The fact that you've got an exciting season to look forward to as well, which you hope Nuno would be in charge of, but it doesn't feel like that could end up that way. Although, having said that, you go back to when Steve Cooper was in charge and there was talk about him leaving, and then suddenly he gets a new contract. I'm not saying it's very different circumstances, certainly. Just a quick word then on what you're expecting today and that atmosphere at Selhurst Park, Max.
Yeah, look, like you, I absolutely love the wordplay of El Clasico. I mean, look, it's difficult because I've got a lot of sympathy for Crystal Palace fans, because through no fault of their own, they're not playing Europa League football, they're playing Conference League football. But, I do find it bemusing that somehow I think Crystal Palace have quite successfully changed the narrative to be that Nottingham Forest are somehow responsible for their own administrative and leadership failings that have caused them to breach multi-club ownership rules. And so that I think the fault lies firmly there. But of course, this has all played out very publicly. There's been a lot said in the media, and as a result, I think that's drummed up a brand new rivalry that we didn't know we needed at the start of the season. And the supercomputer that did the fixtures, it's an absolute belter, isn't it? Game week 2, all of that tension still incredibly fresh, and so I'm sure it's going to be a really tasty atmosphere. I spoke to Morgan Gibbs-White on Friday. Bizarrely enough, as all of this was unfolding in the press conference, I was at the training ground sitting down with Morgan Gibbs-White, and he and the players are fully aware that there's a little bit of extra sort of oomph in this game and a bit of extra needle. And so I've got no doubt that the atmosphere is going to be incredible, and the players know that they're sort of their owner's reputation is on the line. So it's going to be great. And I'm just about to board a train and make my way back up to London so I can get to Selhurst Park.
Take a tin hat then, just in case. Enjoy it, though.
You might need 2 of them, Matt.
I'm sure it's going to be feisty, certainly, on and off the pitch. Max Scott, thank you very much. Still to come, we're going to look ahead to Everton's first game in their new stadium as they take on Brighton at Hill Dickinson Stadium. It should be an exciting afternoon for Evertonians. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport.
the Lions. Real-life fantasy rugby, bitter rivalries set aside in a quest to create the world's best team in weeks. There's nothing like it, but who on earth had the idea and how did it all begin? Incredibly, the first Lions tour was organised and funded by three men who played in England's first ever Test cricket match: opening bowler Alfred Shaw, opening batsman Arthur Shrewsbury and captain James Lillywhite. The 1888 Lions squad, then made up of 17 English, 4 Scots and 1 Welshman and a Northern Irishman, took a 46-day boat trip to New Zealand before heading to Australia. The Lions weren't alone on the boat. Also on board were 300 stoats and weasels who were brought over to eliminate New Zealand's rabbit problem. The first ever Lions captain, Robert Seddon, died of drowning midway through the tour while sculling on a river. Andrew Stoddart, who was another of the cricketers there, took over and was the star of the tour. The next one was the first to get official recognition from the RFU against the newly formed Springboks. Although the Lions won the series and beat the Boks again 5 years later, in the 12 series since in South Africa, they've only won 2. New Zealand has proved an even tougher hunting ground, just a 1 series win for the Lions in 11 attempts, which came in 1971. And then there was that nail-shredding drawn series in 2017, only the second in Lions history. Only once have the Lions clinched a series after losing the first test, 1989, when David Campese's infamous ghost pass was pounced upon by Ian Evans. Before World War II, the Lions had a dark blue strip, which on the 1930 tour forced the All Blacks to play in all white. So in 1950, the iconic red shirts, white shorts and blue and green socks combination was born. It remains the symbol of the greatest alliance of adversaries in all of sport. To borrow the phrase from Jim Telfer, the Lions is Everest.
Good morning, this is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. We're live on your radio, YouTube and Smart TV. I'm Natalie Sawyer and with me is the former Millwall and Gillingham striker Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
There was a 5-star performance at the Emirates yesterday as Arsenal thrashed Leeds.
Up steps Gyökeres and slams it into the bottom left-hand corner. A ferocious penalty. It's Arsenal 5, Leeds 0.
Yeah, we'll be speaking to the former Leeds striker Jermaine Beckford on that shortly, as well as look ahead to Everton's home game of the season, another club that he's played for. Spurs stunned Manchester City. It was live on talkSPORT.
Here's Richarlison. This should be 2-0. Polinia, it is 2-0. It's terrible from Trafford. It's a meltdown from Manchester City. And Tottenham Hotspur take full advantage.
And there's loads of cracking games in the Premier League today, including Fulham against Manchester United, the 4:30 kickoff. Will Ruben Amorim's side get their first 3 points of the season?
When we are playing, I think you can see that we are more confident. I feel the team is more free playing the game. But every week is a test, and we need to do everything to win the games.
All right, more on all of that to come. Right now, it's time for us to look ahead to today's unmissable sporting action with NordVPN.
Breakfast sports preview on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport.
All right, let's turn our attention, shall we, to another game coming your way today, and it's at Everton. A new dawn for them this afternoon as they welcome Brighton in their first ever competitive game at their brand new Hill Dickinson Stadium. The Toffees lost their opening match to Leeds last Monday. in what was a pretty abject performance, really.
Yeah, didn't play well, Everton.
No. But joining us to look ahead to what hopefully will be a celebratory day for them with the official first competitive game for them then at their new ground. It is the former Everton and Leeds striker, Jermaine Beckford. Jermaine, good morning. How are you?
Hi, Jermaine.
Good morning. I would love to say I'm fantastic, but after yesterday, it was a painful one, I'll be honest.
Yeah, heavy defeat.
Very heavy defeat.
For Leeds, yeah.
I mean, maybe we should just start with that now then, because we do want to get to Everton, but yeah, it's a really hard one, isn't it? We were talking about this earlier on, Jermaine, how, you go back to that result over Everton on Monday night, lots of positivity about Leeds. Perhaps they should have scored more, really, from what was a really solid performance. And everyone's saying, they're going to be fine this season. Fast forward to yesterday, and I'm not saying that they're going to be in a relegation battle, but my goodness, opinions can change pretty quickly.
Yeah, so having watched the game, you quickly realise why Arsenal have finished second in the last 3 seasons. They are incredible. The level of sharpness, fitness, coordination, organisation that Arsenal had, how disciplined they were when they were out of possession, how quickly they moved the ball into the attacking thirds, the forward players as well. I thought Madueke did well. I thought he showed enough to get the Arsenal fans a little bit excited. And as soon as he gets really, really comfortable, wow, what a player he is. Obviously, we know what Saka's capable of. Gyökeres up top, managed to get himself a brace. And, with Eberechi Eze signing as well, wowza. What an incredible forward line Arsenal have got. On the flip side, they gave Leeds no opportunities to get the ball under control and dominate any type of section of that match. It was an incredible Arsenal performance, and it was quite frustrating from a Leeds perspective. It was like a baptism of fire. So it was quickly back down to reality for Leeds.
That's the Premier League, Jermaine.
Exactly. And you can't read too much into it because of how dominant Arsenal have been over the last few years.
Yeah.
And that is actually something that Daniel Farke said, their season will not be defined on that result yesterday at the Emirates, because on paper, going into it, everyone would have expected Arsenal to win. Maybe not 5-0, but they still would have expected them to win. That's not the kind of game. Listen, if you'd got something out of it, brilliant. But that's not what Leeds' season will be defined by, and they'll be looking at other games potentially as more winnable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's about, it doesn't matter if you lose so much against a team like Arsenal or Liverpool or, City or someone. It's the manner in which you lose. Now, if you lose 2-0, 3-0, at a push 3-0, you could argue, do you know what, it's still respectable. Five hurts.
Yeah.
5 hurts.
It's the line, Jermaine, isn't it? The 4-5, it starts to get really painful.
Exactly. And you don't know what you're doing wrong, and you can't do anything to stop the goals from happening, the chances from happening. And every one of the players tried their hardest.
Yeah.
They were just outclassed by a phenomenal football inside. So like you said there, Cass, it's a line in the sand onto Newcastle. Onto Sheffield Wednesday to kind of hopefully get a little bit of confidence back, and then on to Newcastle on the weekend.
Talking of your other club, Everton, Jordan Pickford's in the paper today, and he's actually quite funny, some of it, because he knew about Jack Grealish, his good friend, and says that he messaged him and said, hurry up you. He's messaged him and said, hurry up you, to join Everton and come on loan. And then he said he's interacting during that course over that process. And he just said, you'll love it at Everton. He said it's a people's club. Now, you played for them. Is that an exact description of how you see Everton, Jermaine?
Yeah, exactly that. Look, I live on the cusp of Liverpool, and I'm in Liverpool city centre, and I'm around the place all the time. And you feel welcome, you feel comfortable, you feel at home, at ease. And while I was playing for the club as well, it was almost like I'd been there for 5 years prior to me actually signing. The first week of me being there, I felt so comfortable, so welcomed. And that's exactly it. All the fans want is for you to give 110% every single game. Go out there and be honest, and if you're able to win games, if you're able to score games, if you're able to show a little bit of stardust as well, they absolutely love you forever for it. They know they haven't necessarily always got the best players in the squad, but where they sometimes lack in that overall quality, they make up for I mentioned it just there, the honesty of the players, the determination, the belief that it's not about me and what I'm doing, it's about us as a team and as a club. You've got to represent the club properly, and it's an amazing place to be especially when things are going well. And look, it's a new start, new stadium. Everton's season starts today against a very interesting club, interesting team, who would have felt a little bit disappointed to only get a point last week in Brighton. I'm looking forward to it. I am actually looking forward to it.
Are you going to it?
No, I'm not. I'm not. No, I would love to, but I'm having a day off. I'm exhausted.
Have you been to the stadium, Jermaine, already?
I have. It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely incredible. I love how it's very similar to Goodison. I like how the stands almost go straight up. It's a very intimidating atmosphere, and they've kept the majority of the fans in a similar seat to where they were at Goodison. So the atmosphere is going to be very similar again.
Yeah. That's key. That is key to moving to a new stadium. You've got to keep the hardcore groups together, certainly. But look, there's the window's not been too bad so far. Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, Dibbling as well coming in. What they do need today is certainly a pick-me-up performance after that defeat at Ellen Road.
Yeah, it is. And look, the first half was diabolical. There's no two ways around it. David Moyes would have ripped into the lads, and the hairdryer treatment would have come out at halftime. Hence the second half being a far improved performance. They will go into this game against Brighton full of energy, full of confidence, and full of belief in themselves that it was a one-off. Similar to Leeds last night, it was a one-off defeat, one-off performance. The season starts now. When you've got the players like Dibbling and Jack Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, etc., and Dye, that's a really, really exciting forward line. So Everton defensively, as long as they're able to keep it solid at the back, in the offensive positions, in the attacking areas, especially out wide, they look really, really good. Really, really good. Now, if they're able to get the ball out wide to Jack Grealish or to Ndiaye or whoever it may be, get the ball forward to Beto or Barry, they've got a real good chance of making something happen today.
Yeah, they brought in creative players, which was sorely needed, at the club. So yeah.
Well, listen, Jermaine, rest up because you said you're tired. Enjoy your Sunday off.
No one's going to feel sorry for you, Jermaine.
No.
Me and Natalie have been up since 4.
Earlier, I've been up earlier than that.
We'll go on the Olympics now with the, who's up the earliest.
Yeah, exactly. I win that one. Thank you.
Cheers, Jermaine.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
That's the former Leeds and Everton striker, Jermaine.
What time did you get up?
Well, I woke up before my alarm this time.
Yeah, that's a common problem.
Before 3:30, put it that way. So it's never pleasant. Anyway, that was our preview of today's unmissable sporting action with NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport.
Breakfast sports preview on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Get an exclusive 72% off a 2-year plan with an extra 4 months free. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we will continue to still look ahead to some of the football coming your way today, especially at Craven Cottage, as Manchester United look to go in search, I should say, of their first win of this early part of the season. And the latest odds from Corals also on the way.
This is the talkSPORT Goal Show. It's the show for the fans. It's done by the fans.
Yes! Oh my God! Yes! Yes! Yes!
He is an unlocker of defences. If you've got a problem or something to say, you don't have the right to say anything about something. I do.
This nonsense kills the game.
You know you make me want to shout. Look, my hands jumping. Look, my heart.
Welcome along to the Weekend Sports Breakfast. It's Tony Cascarino, the former Republic of Ireland striker, who's with me, Natalie Sawyer. And we're playing a little bit of Lulu this morning because according to a poll in this morning's papers, Cass, noisy leaf blowers lead to more neighbourly rows than anything else. Would you have thought that?
No.
I wouldn't have thought that. Researchers quizzed 1,000 Brits to find out the most irritating behaviours committed by the folks next door. And apparently, the leaf blower is so rage-inducing, many are driven to revenge by doing exactly the same thing. It's madness, isn't it? For what it's worth, revving a car or motorbike was second on the list, with bonfires
Music's gotta be
third. Well, yeah, but leaf blower. The leaf blower's kind of thrown me a little bit.
Well, I don't hear too many of them.
Well, yeah, not that it... And if you do, not for an extended period of time, unless it's someone who's really
They're
trying
quite
to...
loud.
They are loud.
Yeah.
But I'm not... I mean, they don't go on for hours and hours unless somebody has got a very big garden, I suppose. Yeah, but I still wouldn't have thought that would be the number one
No, I
dispute
would
you'd
never
have with a
have gone
neighbour.
leaf blower, no.
Like you say, music, something loud,
music's always
partying, whatever it is going on next door. That I can see that being an issue. But hey ho, I live in a flat though, so obviously there's no leaf blowers around me. So
You wear the shoes on the you hear that can be. Are you on top or you?
No, I'm third floor. It's only 4 floors mine.
Right, okay. Because I say there's someone above you and they're walking around with high heels on and
little patter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't annoy me. I'm not going to go and knock on the door. Can you stop?
Oh
doing
no,
that?
you can't.
Anyway, that is what the most annoying thing it seems to be. The neighbour disputes, the leaf blower. All right, it's time for us to bring you the latest odds from Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Coral, the home of the free-to-play Golden Rewards Shaker. 18 plus max 1 reward per player per selected Shaker day. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Restrictions and T's and C's apply. Gambleaware.org.
Please say, joining us right now, someone who I'm sure gets on with his neighbours. It's Dave Stevens.
Good morning, Nat. Morning, Kat. You'd have got very big odds about leaf blower being number one in the poll of issues that cause neighbourly disputes. I mean, a tiny percentage of the population must have leaf blowers, surely. And actually, they make quite a nice sort of gentle humming sound. So I don't know. These people that are upset by them. Yeah, exactly.
And then they get their revenge back by doing the same thing. I mean, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I mean, we live in a strange world. That's all I'll say.
We do. And that's why we're swiftly moving on to the sporting action of today. Let's start, shall we, at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Everton against Brighton.
Yeah, I look at these 3 games today and genuinely, I couldn't call any of them with any confidence. Hopefully the punters are going to be a bit braver than me. But we start with Everton, obviously a huge afternoon for them in the new stadium. They are second favourites, though. That's the problem. At home, 11-5, so just over 2-1. Brighton, 13-10 favourites. The draw, 9-4. Slightly surprised by that. I mean, Brighton, there'll be a few new faces in, as always. Appear to have done certainly good financial business during the transfer window. Obviously, they were held in their first game. Cass, I mean, I look at this, and this could be any of the 3 outcomes. I mean, do you have a strong view on this one?
Cass, what do you think about Everton Brighton? How do you feel about the game?
A tough one because Brighton are such a hard team to play against. They're going to make it difficult. And they're going to, by the way, Evertonians and all the players are going to love playing there today. Brighton will as well. They'll love going there and thinking, what a fabulous stadium to play your football. Yeah. So that's one of the dangers. And I think the pain of conceding a really late goal last weekend with Brighton, they're a decent side. They make it so hard. So that's a really tight game today.
Yeah, but it feels, I say, all three games feel like that. I mean, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, El Clasico. I like what someone's done there. But again, really tight. Palace at home, 6-4 favourites, but only just 2-1 Nottingham Forest. The draw, again, I think is a big runner here, just bigger than 2-1 at 11-5. And then Manchester United going to Fulham. Look, Manchester United actually played very well against Arsenal last time, got nothing out of it. They look plenty short enough today, though, on their travels. 11-10 favourites against Fulham, 23-10. And again, I know it sounds boring, but I just, the draw, I look at this. If this finished all square, 13-5, it just wouldn't surprise me. That's the feel that these games have. But it's so difficult. You make early season judgments. When I looked at yesterday, I thought Sunderland were certainty to get something from the Burnley game. Look how that ended. So it's always dangerous to read too much into early season form. But one bit of housekeeping from yesterday: Arsenal are now new favourites to win the title. Tottenham fans aren't going to want to hear this. Obviously, they are 7-4. Liverpool 2-1. Manchester City out to 9-2. Obviously, Liverpool have their chance to.
Well, I was going to. It could change on Monday.
Of course it will. And I talk about early season form. I mean, I don't think you'd read too much into it. Is anyone surprised Arsenal and Liverpool are first and second favourites? Of course not. But goes out saying, such a long, long way to go.
Yeah, but it is funny. We were talking about that earlier on. Like, you go back to last weekend, doom and gloom for certain teams. Then this weekend, it's all joy. It's all fine. Nothing to worry about. It's bizarre. Shall we talk the US Open, final major in tennis this season?
Obviously, we heard from Barry Cowan earlier. I mean, the men's game dominated by Yannick Sinner, the reigning champion at Flushing Meadow. He's 11-10 favourite. Carlos Alcaraz, I think they've won the last 7 between them or something crazy. 17-10 second favourite. Novak Djokovic, 12-1 if he could roll back the years. But it's just 11-8 that the big two, Sinner and Alcaraz, meet in the final there. The women's draw slightly more open. Iga Swiatek favourite, reigning champ Sabalenka 3-1, Coco Gauff home favourite, of course, 9-1, and Emma Raducanu, of course, former champion. She's in there at 28-1, so lots to look forward there over the next couple of weeks.
David, we had the E-Ball yesterday in racing. Today, more racing, so tell us what's on.
Yeah, so a good card down at Goodwood on the Sussex Downs. It'll be a lovely day down there. The Celebration Mile is the feature at 3:35, where John Quill goes for Andrew Balding, who won the big City of York Stakes yesterday. So Andrew's having another stellar season. And it's the last Group 1 weekend of the month over in Deauville. 2 Group 1s today. The Pre-Morny for the 2-year-olds. Aidan O'Brien has Gustad up against the filly Venetian Sun. They're a pair of Royal Ascot winners, so that's going to be a cracker. And then a bit later on at 4 o'clock over there, Cinderella's Dream for Charlie Appleby and Will Buick are the 6-4 favourite for the Prix Jean Romanet. So been a brilliant month out in Deauville and finishes with a bang today with those 2 Group 1s.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dave. Enjoy Sunday's action. Thank you.
I'm going to go and turn my leaf blower off now.
Please do. Very, very. We've had complaints from your neighbours, so please do that. That's Dave Stevens from Coral. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Please do gamble responsibly.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT. Brought to you by Coral, the home of a free-to-play Golden Rewards Shaker. 18 plus max 1 reward per player per selected Shaker day. 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Restrictions and T's and C's apply. GambleAware.org.
All right, on the way next, we will look ahead to Fulham against Manchester United a little bit later on, but we're joined by our latest music act, the band Freight. Join us next. Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Thank you very much for being with us this Sunday morning. It is Tony Cascarino, the former Chelsea striker, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer.
That was funny, wasn't it?
We'll come to it in just a moment, but here are some of your headlines this morning. Chelsea defender Marc Cucurella has confirmed that his contract extension is done amid links to the Saudi Pro League. His previous contract was set to expire in 2028. Burnley picked up their first win of the season as they defeated newly promoted side Sunderland 2-0 in the Premier League yesterday. And ahead of the match tomorrow between Newcastle and Liverpool, the Magpies boss Eddie Howe is expecting a passionate display from the St James's Park faithful.
First home game, I think, is always going to be electric, under lights, evening game. Those games are always really special for us. I love experiencing those nights with the energy that the crowd bring us. I've got no doubt this will be a really passionate display from the home support. We need to harness that, use it, but not be reckless with it. You know, we've got to concentrate on the game. We've got to deliver our game plan. We've got to concentrate on what we need to do and not get too emotional, but certainly use the energy from the crowd. That's going to be vital for us.
Yes, it's an 8 o'clock kickoff at St James's Park, Cass. We talked about the game at Selhurst Park today. Forest taking on Crystal Palace there. Expecting a bit of needle in this one. Probably the same tomorrow with the Alexander Isak situation.
Maybe even worse.
Oh, really? Worse?
Maybe. Well, there's a lot. It's quite fiery in Newcastle, isn't it? You know.
Oh, yeah. But I think Palace fans are going to try and give us
good as they get. Oh, I think two games. You're going to get it today and tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
The fiery derbies.
All right. Well, we'll be bringing that one to you live on talkSPORT tomorrow night. As I say, kick-off at 8. Do you mind? You keep leaning into the camera.
Sorry, I'm hogging your... I've been moved around. I've been moved around in the studio.
We've been moved around because it's time for a bit of this.
The only thing I know for sure.
Oh, forgive me. Where is your lead, Cass?
I don't know. Don't worry about it.
Honestly, I have to mother him.
It's all this
madness. But anyway, you're listening in right now to The Only Thing I Know by the band Freight. And I'm really pleased to say that a couple of the members of the band join us here in the studio. Jacob and Luca are with us. How are you doing, both?
Hi, guys.
Very good. Thank you very much.
It's all very exciting for us.
This is so cool. Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry we're not sounding as professional as we should. We were trying to make sure that Cass is plugged in and he's not plugged in. So anyway, never mind. So tell us a little about the origins of Freight.
Well, it was myself and Ted, the drummer. We've been best mates for years. And then I just went and did like an open mic night once in like my local pub, and they said, if you get a band together, we can get you on a local festival. I was like, that'd be amazing. So then we just started it, and then we went to Ted's sister, and Jacob was there, and then Anton was there as well. And we were like, do you want to join the band? And it just like happened from there. Like, and literally, we spent the whole summer doing like all these Arctic Monkeys covers and stuff like that, like 8-hour-a-day rehearsals. But we just
treating it like it was like this big, huge gig, but it was
like it was Wembley or something.
Yeah.
But we were just like this litigious festival ever called Pickfest. But yeah, that was the origin of the band. Very humble beginning.
Yeah. So where are you from? Where are you based?
Warrington.
Yeah, the drive down here was awful.
So what time were you up at today?
2.
Oh, that's earlier than us.
Yeah.
But we're so buzzing for this.
Yeah,
that,
yeah, definitely.
We don't even feel tired. I feel more energy than ever before.
But you didn't drive.
No.
You're showbiz. You've got to drive.
Malcolm.
Beloved Malcolm. So you could rest if you needed to. So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
all right.
But we were so giddy that we didn't even sleep. So
very good.
Proper exciting. Yeah.
So, obviously, we've spoken about the origins of Freight, and there's a couple of other band members who aren't with us today. But football, is there a sporting connection with you both?
Yes, yeah, I'm quite a big fan of Fenerbahce FC, the Turkish team.
Oh, Jose.
Wow. Yeah, because I'm half Turkish, my dad's side. So, so I'm a big fan of that because I lived in Turkey for 8 years. So then, I've had that. Finding that my English team is Liverpool, but I'm not as strong with Liverpool, but Fenerbahce is like my type of jam.
Yeah, I was going to say Jose and Liverpool are not a good match.
Yeah.
Are they? You know, a lot of rivalry over.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the United stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. So you lived in 8 years, did you say?
Yes. Yeah, in a place called Bodrum.
Okay. So do you get to go back now and even to see Fenerbahce?
I've never actually been to a game. I went to the stadium once. That was really cool. But half my family still live there and stuff like that.
Nice.
My dad lives there again now as well. So summer holidays, we always just go to like Turkey and stuff like that and see my friends and family, and it's really, really.
Yeah, I'm half Bulgarian, so I understand. We go to the, to Bulgaria for the summer.
Like a holiday, it's more like meeting people again, isn't it?
It's not restful.
Not a chore, but
I hear what you're saying. What you also need to do now is have gigs in Turkey. That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, we were thinking maybe one day I can write like a song in Turkish or something like that, but that'd be quite cool. Yeah, or maybe like The Only Thing I Know Turkish edition. It might not be the same syllables though, so it might be a bit.
So can you speak Turkish?
Yeah. I used to be like fluent, but I'm mostly fluent now. But like I say, I can speak like child Turkish because like I only was there until I was 8 years old. So all my friends who still live there, they all know this like adult slang and stuff like that, and they'll take, they make fun of me when I don't know what stuff means, stuff like that. And I feel left out. I'm like, well, I'm still Turkish.
But isn't it weird? That's exactly the same as me. I mean, I'm not to the level of you've lived in Turkey. I haven't lived in Bulgaria, but my Bulgarian would be babyish. Is the only way I can describe it. And it's really embarrassing because I'm like, I really can't.
Sometimes do it like you'll put an English word in there as well. That's why I do with Turkish, because like I'll forget the word for that, so it'll be like English word back to Turkish as well.
It's really funny to hear it from the outside perspective because you'll hear a load of gibberish and then like, I don't know, Manchester City or something like that.
Well, there's some words that are very common, universal, aren't they, as well, which you can find, like, if you say hot dog anywhere in the world, they'll know what you mean, or a sandwich or something like that.
But for some reason, Jacob asked me for this, I'll keep the Turkish accent going when I say an English word. Roll my R or something like that, and they'll laugh at me like, why am I doing that? When, like, I should really just go English to Turkish. But,
So, musically, influences?
I'd say, for us, it's like the Kooks and the Vaccines and people like that. We of all the northern indie scene, to be fair, like Manchester and stuff like that. But yeah, I think our vibe is very like summery indie pop type of thing. So
you could hear that in that song that you're talking about. Yeah, very much so. And so, how long have you been going for?
2 years.
2 years, only 2. We just celebrated our 2nd birthday recently, and that was like, wow. It feels so long and so short at the same time. You know what I mean? I mean, there are bands that I can't believe, like, I can't imagine what it feels like to be this band that's been going for like 14 years, like Fontaines and stuff like that. It's mad. But, we're just at the start of the journey. So.
It always feels, when I listen to people in the music industry, it feels it can be really, really slow process. Then suddenly it can go crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we felt like they've been able to.
Exactly.
It's crazy for us. We're just like, this is the coolest thing ever. So thank you again for having us.
Oh, no, it's an absolute pleasure. So tell us then a little bit about what you've done gigs-wise. Have you been supporting other artists?
Well, this summer's been quite fun. We did Newton Music Festival, so we opened for the K's, if you know them. They're quite a big indie band.
They just got their #1 album. Congrats to them.
And then we did like Together Again Festival on like a smaller stage, but headliners were like Ollie Murs and people like that. And then we also did like Stranger Ways in Manchester. So we've been getting into the scene a bit more, like getting these like opening on small stages and stuff. But it's just been like so fun because we get to go to festivals for free and then enjoy the festival. So like it's just like the best thing ever. Like today we get to go to London.
Now, do you remember yesterday, Cass, we had a little predictor league, which we started here on the Weekend Sports Breakfast, and Luke, you were very kind in giving us your predictions.
Some bad predictions.
It was pretty tough yesterday to get,
I don't think
Cass. Did I say 4-0 City against Spurs? My excuses, right? I used to be a goalkeeper for my local team, Appleton Boys, and I used to end 20 goals a game, and our goal difference was like 100 minus 120. I'm not even lying. So any of my predictions, don't ever take them to any TalkSPORT listeners because I'm awful at football.
Well, I believe you went for a 4-1 City win, according to this. So, you not quite right, but you got Spurs to score anyway. Cass, you thought City would win 2-1.
2-1, yeah.
Okay, so, in terms of...
They did look really strong against Wolves, though, so I was thinking, I wasn't thinking Spurs were going to whack that out, and then...
No, not many people would have called that yesterday. They go there and win 2-0.
And both of you thought Wrexham would win against Sheffield Wednesday.
They were winning 2-0, weren't they?
They were winning 2-0, but then Sheffield Wednesday, who have had a lot of problems over the summer period, ended up coming back to draw that one 2-2.
Right.
So far, it's not been great for either of you. And neither of you went for Arsenal's 5-0 win over Leeds. I think you thought 1-0, Cass.
Yeah.
Whereas, actually, Luke, you went for a more credible 3-0.
I'll take it.
So I think we give you the edge on that one, certainly. Still a couple of games to go, in the sense that you've got the Everton-Brighton game, which you've backed Brighton to win 3-1.
Yeah.
You've gone for the 1-1 draw.
Yeah, draw.
And then tomorrow night, Liverpool 3-0, you've said at Newcastle.
Yeah, I think I'm quite confident there.
That's a big one, though, at Newcastle.
Yeah, I think I was quite confident in the car when doing that one, and I was like getting quite Liverpool biased to that. So.
Well, I've got the Liverpool bias, but I was 1-0 to them.
You've got 1-0, indeed. So we'll see what happens with the rest of those ones, but it's never easy to predict scores. It really is quite hard.
Yeah.
But what we can do is get you to play your music and show us your real talents, if you don't mind. So what are you going to play for us?
It's our latest single called The Only Thing I Know.
Super.
Great.
When you're ready, please do begin for us. It should be great. Right, got their guitars out.
Hopefully 2 guitars won't be too much trouble.
Oh, will be great.
Can you hear me from there?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Real.
You ready, Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I know for sure, the only thing I know is you. The only thing I know. See you in the corner of my eyes. This music is so loud. I glance at you, but I can't get through the crowd. He says, can I borrow something of yours? Can I see if I'm right? Oh, look what I found tonight. 'Cause the only thing I know for sure, the only thing I know is you. The only thing I know. It's getting late, it's time to go to bed. I'm told by my maid she's not into you. Come on, man. But I know it's my fate that I've gotta try at least once to get with her or a mate. And if I fail that, I'll remember. The only thing I know for sure, the only thing I know is you. The only thing I know. The only thing I know for sure, the only thing I know is you. The only thing I know. The only thing I know. The only thing I know.
Great stuff, lads.
So
Great
good.
stuff.
So good.
Really
Do
happy.
you know some people say you can be an ugly crier? I'm an ugly crier and an ugly singer. You guys are just happy. You're so happy when you sing. It's so lovely. That was a lovely, lovely song. So
you will get old one day and a bit more miserable, but you're very too happy.
No, it's so lovely to hear that.
That's what you're doing, yeah?
Presumably you can find you wherever, on all the platforms, etc.
Apple Music, Spotify. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We've got a fan page on Facebook.
You
Yeah,
see?
yeah.
This is where it
Mad.
begins.
Freight_band on all of them, like Freight on Spotify.
Brilliant.
FREIGHT, not fright.
Yes, it's definitely Freight. Thank you so much for popping in and singing for us. It's been wonderful.
Brilliant stuff. Really good.
This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN, cybersecurity built for every day. Find out more on nordvpn.com/talksport. Coming up before Sean Custis and Henry Winter take over with the Sunday edition, we're going to be joined by talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast here on talkSPORT with Crocken Hill's finest, Tony Cascarino and me, Natalie Sawyer. We're taking you through until 9 o'clock. And there's only one day left to enter our VIP competition as the NFL returns to Wembley in October. The Los Angeles Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're giving you the chance to win 6 seats in a private box with full hospitality plus $5,000 spending money. But it all ends tomorrow, so you've got to be quick to enter, and this is how you can.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by 25th August at 11 p.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. See talksport.com for terms and conditions.
Best of luck for that, but tomorrow is the deadline. Right, let's look ahead to the 4:30 kickoff, shall we, at Craven Cottage as Manchester United make the trip to Fulham. Both sides looking for their first 3 points of the season. United lost their opening game 1-0 to Arsenal, while Fulham has picked up a very late point at Brighton with a late equaliser for them. Will United's new £200 million strike force start together for the first time and gel and get those positive results that they're looking for under Ruben Amorim? And can Fulham make a winning start at home? Those are the questions being asked today. Joining us to look ahead to it and to bring us up to speed with the latest transfer news and footballing news in general, it is our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. How you doing, Alex?
Alex?
Good morning. I'm good. You well?
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the game first and foremost? Because, you know, after the defeat, I thought there was a lot of positives, Alex, in the performance against Arsenal.
Yeah, I always look forward to a trip to Craven Cottage, particularly when the sun is shining. I think it's one of the most picturesque grounds in the country. And you're right, there were plenty of positives with my Manchester United hat on last weekend. 22 shots on goal. I think it was the most since they put 8 past Arsenal in the glory years under Sir Alex Ferguson. But I think today is a really important game for Ruben Amorim because you can have all the positives in the world. Ultimately, it was still a defeat. And if they don't back that up with a performance and the 3 points at Craven Cottage, then suddenly it becomes a very disappointing start to the season.
This is true, but they do have a good recent record at Fulham. They've won their last 8 Premier League trips to Craven Cottage. The problem is they've never beaten a side 9 times in a row. So they've got to make a little bit of history today if they're going to do that.
Well, they've made plenty of unwanted history in recent years. So, yeah, maybe some positive history is on the horizon. There's usually a lot of late goals in this game as well. They've sort of nicked the points late on against Fulham. So, listen, it's going to be tight. I think Marco Silva has got Fulham very well organised. I think he's one of a number of managers, actually, who are unhappy with the lack of summer transfer activity. I would expect Fulham to try and get bodies in between now and the window closing. So maybe this is a good time to go there for Manchester United.
Transfers in general, we're coming into the final running before we get to September. Alex, any news stories? Because obviously the big one was last week with Eze. Are Spurs looking to bring someone in? I think it'll be imminent, but they've got money, so someone's going to come in.
Yeah, there's a few whispers around Bilal El Khanous at Leicester, who obviously was left out of their championship game yesterday. I think there's an agreement in place between Palace and Leicester, but maybe El Khanous is just scouting the market to see what else is out there potentially. And Tottenham's interest in Savinho doesn't appear to be going away. It's our information at talkSPORT that they're willing to pay €70 million for him, so around about £60 million there or thereabouts. I think City would want nearer €80 million, and there is a reluctance from the hierarchy there and from Pep Guardiola to sell him, but Tottenham are still trying. And on the subject of Manchester City, I was told yesterday, keep an eye on Gigi Donnarumma. That could well still happen. I think it's dependent on Ederson going out. He's been offered £8 million a year to join Galatasaray. Obviously, watching the bench as James Trafford had a bit of a personal nightmare yesterday. So Donnarumma to City, I think, is still a live possibility.
Ooh, okay. We were talking about that earlier on, and you were sort of suggesting it'd be very bizarre that you bring James Trafford in, and then it seems as though he's going to become number 2 if they're going to bring in Donnarumma as well.
Yeah, well, Ederson going means that they probably are going to add another goalkeeper, but the stature of someone like Donnarumma, and paying a lot of money for James Trafford, you never, City, in the goalkeeping issue, you're never quite sure what direction they're going to go.
No, and they're different type of keepers, aren't they? I mean, James Trafford, I think one of the appeals there is that he's so good with his feet, although obviously he played his way into trouble on a couple of times yesterday. Donnarumma, I think we probably all agree it's just about the best shot stopper in the world, but maybe not so comfortable playing out from the back. So it's certainly an interesting one. I think this is just a market opportunity that maybe City didn't envisage when they signed Trafford. I don't think anybody expected PSG to dump Donnarumma so unceremoniously. And now, as I say, the best goalkeeper in the world for me, certainly for the second half of last season, is available for a relatively modest fee.
Yeah, OK, one to watch. And I'm sure a lot of other Premier League teams are going to have to do business over the next few days as well. Just quickly, Nottingham Forest, huge game coming up at Crystal Palace. It's going to be feisty for many different matters. But also, it feels like it could be feisty within the Nottingham Forest sort of board and the manager and all that sort of situation with Nuno Espirito Santo. What is the latest?
Well, this is a fascinating story developing. Forest, who obviously had a brilliant season last year back in Europe for the first time since the 1990s. Nuno, like Steve Cooper before him, actually, is idolised by the Forest fans. So I'm sure they're going to show their support at Palace today. We first heard whispers, didn't we, on Friday morning, emanating from Italy initially, that maybe all was not well between the board and the manager, and that Evangelos Marinakis, the Forest owner, was looking for potential replacements. Ange Postecoglou, Jose Mourinho, two of the names that have been mentioned to me over the last 48 hours. And I think certainly Postecoglou is keen to come back to the Premier League. Forest shot that story down on Friday morning. It was described to me by one source there as nonsense. And then a few hours later, Nuno really just fanned the flames. He used the same expression I did when I was on with Sam Matterface and Troy Deeney on Friday. No smoke without fire when it comes to Forest. He admitted that his relationship with the hierarchy there is not as good as it once was. And I think this stems really as a personality clash between Nuno Espirito Santo and Edu, former sporting director at Arsenal, now in charge of all of Evangelos Marinakis' club. There's been some issues with transfers. I think Nuno wanted to sign Adama Traore, his former player at Wolves, and Edu wasn't keen to do that. Douglas Luiz was at least one deal that happened without too much knowledge of the manager. And I think there's also been a disagreement about playing styles. Maybe Marinakis wants a slightly more progressive approach this season, whereas obviously Forest's success under Nuno has been built on not having much of the ball, hitting on the counter-attack. I'm not sure where this ends, really, because Marinakis was certainly upset and left angry by Nuno's comments, because I think the manager had been told before that press conference not to fan the flames, and he did the exact opposite. So it wouldn't surprise me if a change is made.
Wow.
Well, it's going to be a busy time for you, no doubt, Alex. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Alex. All the best.
That's it from us. Don't forget, we will keep you right up to date with all of the games taking place today with Game Day Live, is it? Or Sunday Session? Is it Game Day Live now? It's now Game Day Live. Goodness me, from 1:30 this afternoon. Following on from that, Majestic and Alan Pardew will be taking your calls on all the weekend's action on the final word from 6:30. So that is it for us. Cass, I shall see you next weekend for more of the same. On the way, you've got the Sunday edition with Sean Custis and Henry Winter. This has been the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with NordVPN. Get your talkSPORT exclusive offer today with 72% off a 2-year plan and an extra 4 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Find out more at nordvpn.com/talksport.